Hello, good evening, and welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Heroes Lounge Season 6. I am Bears of the Forever Alones, and joining me once again this evening, it is none other than the fabulous Larkin. How you doing this evening, my friend?
I'm very good, thank you. Glad to be here.
Well, I'm, as always, glad to have you here. So, we are going to be watching, first off tonight, a match from Division 3. Well-known group of teams, CoB, are fielding their team Saltshakers in Division 3 this season, and they're going to be going up against Jaina the Frostmage. Both of these teams have been in Lounge for a couple of seasons already. They did both play in Division 3 last season, but they did not get the opportunity to play each other. So they are going to get that chance right here and now tonight. So should be a fun match. And it's not all we've got for you tonight either, folks, because later on tonight at 10 p.m. CEST, we will be casting Domodors de Dinos and versus GoCore 5, a Division 2 match. So we'll be having that one for you all later as well. Larkin, what have we had in terms of map bans for this best of three, this first best of three we're going to be seeing tonight?
So nothing too unusual. We did see the Volskaya ban coming out from Saltshakers, but a Battlefield of Eternity ban from Jaina the Frostmage. So slightly unusual. We don't see Battlefield banned all that much, but that's what they've decided to run, and that does of course mean that Brexis is open. However, we've gone to a good old-fashioned Dragonshire to start things off, which was Jaina the Frostmage's pick.
And Talia Slavic there cheering in chat. Thank you for the support for Heroes Lounge. Much appreciated. And I'm guessing this is none other than Talia from Jaina the Frostmage. So yeah, appreciate that. Thank you very much. How are the teams getting on? Are we ready to go here?
We are ready to go. Let's start it off.
Let's jump into the draft.
So this is Jaina the Frostmage's pick. They've played this map once before. It was their pick that time as well, but they didn't manage to pick up the win. Of course, both of these teams are near the bottom of Division 3, so both of them will actually be beginning to look at the last few games of the season and thinking, actually, we're going to need to put some more, at least map wins, on the board. Otherwise, of course, the threat of relegation is very real. So neither of them are obviously going to be contending for a place in the cup, but they definitely don't want to drop down.
No, absolutely. Certainly Jaina the Frostmage were in Division 4 a couple of seasons ago, so they've obviously climbed up into Division 3, and I should imagine they definitely will be wanting to stay there. So we're going to get some betting underway for this here game. You can !bet in chat. It'll be bet A to bet on CoB Saltshakers and bet B for Jaina the Frostmage, and then you can bet your earned points that you've got from watching the stream against other people on the result of the game. And I see Tiger Crinker getting us started off there, so thank you. And a Greymane ban coming out. Larkin, what are your thoughts on that?
It's quite unusual, to say the least. I mean, there are so many impressive picks that you can go into these days. Although, of course, the patch has just dropped, hasn't it? So there are some balance changes that are live, although, of course, no Decard came. I'm not sure if this is a target ban, if they've identified that there is a really strong Greymane on the other team.
I don't think the ban has the patch has dropped yet.
Has it not? I saw
not in EU, I don't believe.
Not in the EU. Okay, just in the net. Okay, so we're still.
So I mean, looking at these teams, we have seen Jaina the Frostmage Greymane is their most commonly picked hero.
Yeah.
They've picked that 6 times in their matches so far. So obviously, this does look like Saltshakers doing a bit of research, doing a bit of background on their opponents before the match. So. I like to see that for sure. And this being round 6, of course, we do have Phoenix available to draft for the teams. And we're going to see Jaina the Frostmage banning that one out. and a very quick first pick on the Hanzo. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, so banning out a Greymane, of course, does mean that you are freeing up multiple really strong options. So if Phoenix was banned out, then of course they could go straight into a Hanzo, straight into Maiev, straight into Diablo, whatever it may be that they think is absolute priority for them. And in this case, it's the Hanzo. I mean, I don't fault it at all really on Dragonchar. I think he has a lot of value on this map. He can control vision very well between the mid and the bot lane. He can scatter arrow very easily in that shrine itself. Of course, he can help chunk the DK down. He can poke afar in that 4-man and generally just do everything very well, which is why he's so popular. But there's an old, well not old, but somewhat outdated duo of Malf Tracer.
Well, I mean, you say somewhat outdated. I'm not sure that is entirely fair. It's fallen off in popularity a little bit, but I don't think the changes that came into play on Tracer have hurt that pairing all too much. It's a little weaker in the early game, I believe. I mean, I'm no Tracer expert. I'm parroting the words of better players than I, but Tracer's weaker in the early game, but I believe in the later game, even potentially a little bit stronger than before the rework. So that pairing should work.
I do think it's still a strong pairing. I think what I mean is just it's nowhere near as popular as it used to be. And instead, this pairing that was picked up by Saltshakers, Diablo Stukov, is far more commonplace nowadays. And it would have been a logical first duo, in my eyes, from Jaina the Frostmage. So they're going just for a little bit more old school. And of course, Malf was slightly nerfed as well, but he's still undoubtedly very strong. The one thing I question about this pickup here is that because Tracer is so much weaker in the early game and her pulse bomb just doesn't really secure picks as reliably as it used to, it does make getting a serious advantage over your opponent in that 4-man a little bit harder. Of course, it does allow her to rotate up to the top lane if that's what she wants to do, but the lack of wave clear, the lack of really strong kill potential can be a problem for trying to secure early Dragon Knights.
Potentially, we'll have to see how Jaina the Frostmage want to round out their composition. But yeah, that is certainly something they need to be aware of. The Medivh getting banned out by Jaina the Frostmage obviously does work very well with that Diablo frontline, so I don't mind that as a ban. But it's something that could have worked for them, for Jaina the Frostmage as well. So I'm a little bit... Yeah, I think it would have been a very good option for them against the Diablo.
Yeah, I mean, and they do have the next two picks, so if that was what they wanted, they could have done it themselves, but perhaps they don't play it, perhaps they just aren't fancying it here. Medivh does work very nicely with Tracer, but Stukov does also play into him quite well, so that's perhaps another thing they wanted to remove him for. And I can see a Blaze ban removing that option for the solo.
Yeah, reducing the solo options is definitely one way to go. I do wonder whether the Garrosh might have been a stronger ban denying.
Yeah, they were hovering the Garrosh ban.
They were, yeah. But I mean, we'll see. Blaze is obviously a pretty powerful force in the solo lane. Can do good things into most heroes, to be fair. In the sense of that sort of wave clear and the point control that's so important on this map.
But I would have loved to play Hanzo Diablo Stukov into Blaze. Blaze would have so much difficulty contemplating how to use Bunker when there's the threat of Dragon Arrow, of APOC, of Stukov Silence all around it. You have 5 men go into a bunker and come out, and suddenly it's literal hell. But of course, if they have a very particular solo laner in mind who Blaze counters very well, then removing him does kind of make sense. But of course, now we see Sonya picked up, and she is equally difficult to deal with in a solo.
Very much so, yeah. She's pretty strong at the moment for sure. It'll be interesting to see whether Saltshakers want to pick something that they feel can counter that Sonya. At the moment, their composition isn't the best for providing roaming ganks up onto the Sonya, but they could grab something and a Genji, and the Genji would provide that potential to have a very fast rotation to ambush the Sonya. So maybe that might be a route that they want to go down. I'm not sure what you would pick at this juncture to just directly try and beat the Sonya pick, but equally a Dahaka would be an interesting sort of strategic option for them, because it would provide them with that global map presence.
Yeah, I think Dahaka would be really strong for being able to create those 4v5s. He would still gradually lose to Sonya, I think. And they do actually go down that route. Yeah, the other option I think would have been Malthael, but he would be a little bit more vulnerable to Tracer rotations.
Yeah.
Genji, I also see the merit in that, but there is, of course, a risk of playing Genji into Varian with a Malfurion, because if you get caught by a Taunt or a Twilight Dream, it's very hard to live.
Oh, absolutely.
They go for that Gul'dan instead. I think Gul'dan pairs really nicely with Hanzo's Dukov. And to an extent, Diablo, though, of course, you don't want to horrify people out of an apocalypse. But apart from that, very strong 4-man here from Saltshakers.
Yeah, it certainly is. And Gul'dan obviously provides them with a lot of wave clear that some of those other options wouldn't have done. So that's going to make the ability to rotate by Saltshakers that much stronger. I have to wonder whether they're going to feel safe rotating against a potential Tracer that can be so potentially annoying and harassing while you're trying to rotate, as you sort of get
they do of course have the Hanzo vision for that. So, and there's the Jaina, so that makes sense.
Yeah, and that gives them a lot of wave clear. It does provide them also with a lot of blow up that they maybe didn't have otherwise. And a really strong, obviously a strong follow-up to Taunt from Varian. So
yeah, that's what I've been thinking of recently. I've really been enjoying, and it's been coming up in HTC as well, just going for Taunt, and then you can follow it up, of course, with a Malfurion if you want, and having that Jaina burst. It's pretty hard, especially for Stukov, who doesn't have Cleanse, and he has quite a long cooldown burst heal, at least until 16, to actually save a target from something like that. But at the same time, of course, they do have the means of counter-engaging via that Diablo. So it'll be interesting to see how these teams execute their comps. I think there's merit to both for sure.
Yeah, I've had to bet on Jaina the Frost Mage because they have picked their namesake Jaina. But I can definitely see merits to both the comps. The Saltshakers comp, I think, has sort of a higher power level in terms of what is currently considered the power in the meta. They've got a lot of those top tier picks. So we'll have to see how that affects the game, or whether Jaina the Frost Mage have put together a composition that they're so comfortable with that they can actually overcome that power difference. But we will see, because we are into game 1 of this best of 3 between CoB Saltshakers and Jaina the Frost Mage. On the left-hand side in blue, it is the Saltshakers. We're going to be seeing Sane on the Gul'dan, Dino playing the Hanzo here, Balabub on Diablo, Lazaroth playing Stukov, and the Dahaka being played by Gwells.
And on the right, the red team, it is Jaina the Frost Mage, I had to, with Inverse Beast on Tracer, Grek playing the legendary Jaina, Hesabub on Sonya, Bree on Varian, and Talia on Malfurion.
Indeed. So Sonya and Dahaka immediately positioning on the top side of the map, not looking to do any sort of 5v5 brawling in mid.
Nothing too unusual about the level 1 talents. Just like thinking a little bit more about these drafts. It's with it running a Varian quote unquote solo tank. Well, Sonya is there as well. Varian obviously immediately powers up at level 4, and then he kind of begins to drop off after 16 and doesn't have the strongest 20 either. So it's a lot about getting value in the early game once he has his heroic, as it were. And he can struggle late game, and we've seen this in HGC. But Sonya, Jaina, Tracer all have big late game power spikes, so it's kind of interesting little half and half almost from Jaina the Frost Mage.
Yeah, that's absolutely true, and that can be a problem. Sometimes it can work out quite nicely, as you just hit your various power spikes at different points in the game, and you're able to take advantage of them, but sometimes it's tough to take advantage of them unless you've got multiple things coming online all at the same time.
And I really feel like Saltshakers hit some really big power spikes kind of all together. It's like 13 is definitely part of it with CoB, but then 16 with Diablo getting his full combo, with Super Strain coming in for CoB most likely, with Ruinous Affliction probably for Gul'dan. Like, it can get really nasty. So
it certainly can, yeah. So we'll see whether Saltshakers are able to keep up until that later game point where their composition, as you say, sort of comes online. Varian dropping low here and does get silenced, and that's a kill. Tracer goes in, lands the pulse bomb onto Gul'dan, but it's nowhere near enough to secure the kill. And Tracer was obviously forced to retreat pretty quickly. Wow, taking a lot of damage there.
Yeah, really nicely done by the Diablo, not charging in with his Q as some players might do, but instead getting up close, getting the E first, and then slamming the player behind him. And Varian's, in his current iteration, he doesn't have anywhere near the same endless protects as he used to. And equally, Tracer doesn't have endless blinks like she used to, so she's going to have to be very careful dealing with this as well. And we also saw how kind of ineffective that pulse bomb is. It went onto Malf and did a little bit of damage, but nowhere near as much as it used to.
Another engage coming here, and the silence is there to try and prevent the follow-up. Tracer dropping low. Nice Horrify from Gul'dan, but the roots into Blizzard. It comes out, and Jaina the Frost Mage securing the kill back onto their opponents. Very nicely done. With Sonya controlling the top lane and controlling the top shrine very comfortably, it seems. This may be an opportunity for Jaina the Frost Mage to get an objective. Dive onto the Diablo. Yeah, Tracer's going to be able to secure that one, no problem. Hanzo is here to interrupt Jaina, trying to get the DK. And meanwhile, Dahaka is temporarily at least regaining control of that top lane.
Ooh.
Big chunk damage onto Hanzo as Tracer finds him.
We see Jaina going into, which is probably the most standard build at the moment, so going for Fingers of Frost and then likely taking the 2 Q talents at 4 and 7.
Yep.
This obviously allows her to have excellent poke, but most importantly, it gives her incredible slow. So she can slow pretty much anyone who's trying to run away from Tracer, and hopefully allow Tracer to start securing more kills as the game goes on. Diablo once again kind of getting caught out, and another root from Mal. He's taking the big root, but
Tracer doing a lot of damage, but Jaina is not there, so not enough follow-up to actually secure a kill here. Varian getting chunked. Does manage to pull back, though.
Yeah, I mean, Diablo squatting the shrine is like, it can be a risk, but it can also allow for an easy kill if you charge someone into a wall. But currently, it just seems both of the tanks are being endlessly poked, while the backline is kind of flitting between clearing waves in mid and then doing a little bit of damage on bot. There hasn't been a full 4-man commitment really yet.
No. We did see a very close to completed channel by Hanzo there, nearly securing the DK for Saltshakers, but another engage going in as Hanzo drops low. Blizzard manages to catch him, but the heal is there from Stukov to keep him healthy, and now both ultras being channeled by Saltshakers. Varian cut off and very low on health here. Malfurion trying to get in, but cannot get there to support him properly. And that is going to be another kill for Saltshakers. But currently Sonya is once again controlling this top shrine. Looks like Sonya giving it up here to Dahaka, which means both are going to be channeled by Saltshakers, giving Hanzo an opportunity to try and force something in the mid here, but
great charge by Diablo there. Beautifully placed silence from the Stukov. Diablo charged her, threw her back into the silence so she couldn't recall or blink away. I really liked what Saltshakers did. They were just not trying to force the DK, but instead sieging up on their spot lane, getting some structure value. Malf had burned most of his mana, which is why Varian died in the first place, and with Tracer going down, he had to back off, and that's 10 sizably ahead for Saltshakers.
And Diablo rotating up does catch out the Jaina here. Hanzo using the Dragon Arrow for the stun. Still not quite able to secure the kill onto Greg's Jaina.
Finally take the top try.
Yeah, so Jaina the Frost Mage doing a great job here, playing cautiously around their opponent's heroics. but managing not to give up too much as they do soak their own level 10s here.
It's interesting, Hanzo still hasn't finished Redemption yet. We've got 22 stacks on Echo Corruption, which is obviously really nice for Gul'dan. Jaina's almost finished her Fingers of Frost quest, but a long way off from finishing Frostbite. Most terrifyingly, Diablo is now fully stacked, and he actually has Soul Shield at level 7 as well, so he's going to be taking very minimal damage from Jaina.
Yeah. Big corruption damage from Gul'dan, but the 4-man from Jaina the Frost Mage in the bot lane is securing this shrine currently quite safely. Hanzo rotates up, does secure the top shrine, but not able to get the kill onto the Sonya there. So not going to be an easy objective for Saltshakers here. We see the siege camp has also been picked up by Jaina the Frost Mage. Heroics going down, the Horrify as well.
Great response.
Oh yeah, Variant drops low, but it's not enough. Great Twilight Dream. The APOC came out, but it wasn't in time to save Stukov. And that was really nicely done by Jaina the Frost Mage. Looked like it could have been really awkward for them, but they turned it around.
Yeah, I mean, it was a big commitment onto Varian. The initial Diablo charge, but then a Horrify to try and get him away. Jaina landed a nice Ring of Frost, and Varian turned around, immediately taunted Stukov. Perfect target selection. They blew up the Stukov, were able to win this fight. This is actually the first siege camp we've seen this whole game, I think. It's the first time we've actually seen a team start to try and pressure the map a little bit by taking camps. I would like to see a little bit more of this as the game goes on, but both shrines currently for Jaina, and Sonya looks like she might go down. Dragon Arrow is used.
Diablo, though, in mid lane, dropping extremely low. That's going to be a kill there. And on the top side, Sonya doing Sonya things, getting away from two opponents. No bother. We have seen, actually, that is the second siege camp, I believe, Jaina the Frost Mage have picked up. They did pick up one very, very early on, almost as soon as it spawned. Oh, yeah. Stukov getting caught out. Another lovely root and a blizzard on top of it. But Tracer denying the... Yeah, okay, she's going to be fine. Denying the Dragon Knight cap on mid lane. But looked like she might have got in trouble there. Don't think Diablo was quite able to get the angle for the wall stun. So she's going to be able to zip on out of there.
So Jaina is probably just starting to chain a few kills together, which is really nice. Now they're starting to do a lot more with these kills. They're not trying to force DK too hard. They keep obviously getting the shrines and making that threat, but they're using their opportunity to get more pressure on the map and try and get at least ahead in XP. So they're still a little bit behind. So they've got this bottom bruiser camp, which will help clear out these towers and should get them a nice chunk of XP. Sonya once again takes the shrine, so double control again, and Diablo no souls this time. Goes down.
Really nice APOC, but it's not enough. Hanzo with the Dragon Arrow from behind, but again, that's not going to secure the kill, and Diablo did go down, and he's got a longer respawn this time. Another really nice catch there. Jaina the Frost Mage doing a great job of just finding the isolated target and using their CC, using their chain lockdown to just secure and blow up those kills. Hanzo gonna now be another 15 seconds. The siege camp getting picked up as well, aggressively taking their opponent's siege camp. I love that play. Yeah, that should be enough to secure the DK for sure.
They did use Twilight Dream in that, which I think was a little bit overkill. But it's really, as you say, it's becoming really difficult for Saltshakers to deal with that combo that we talked about, the taunt into the root, into the Jaina damage. And they really need to find a way to nullify these threats. And I think they need to start really chaining their own abilities together. We've seen many, I think 3 relatively useless Dragon Arrows coming out with next to no follow-up, and APOC just kind of being used as a panic button when that combo is threatening them from Jaina Frost Mage. So they need to really try and sync APOC, Dragon Arrow, and Horrify up together. And here Diablo, still very low on souls, steps far too far forward, gets blown to pieces. Another Horrify does nothing, and a brilliant Ring of Frost actually catching the Hanzo, and that's 2 more kills for Jaina.
Yeah, great aggressive leap onto the Diablo to start that off. Sonya locking that down and securing that CC chain. With the Dragon Knight damage coming on as well, Diablo just didn't stand a chance. And then really good play by Jaina to land the Ring of Frost onto the Hanzo there. I don't think there was even any Like, I don't think it was following up on anything. I think it was just landed raw. So that was really nice play and did secure them a second kill there. So definitely a big lead now for Jaina the Frost Mage. Over a level ahead in XP. They've got that level 16 advantage just for a few more moments. They're going to capitalize on that, trying to get additional structure pressure into the bottom lane, taking down this fort, and looks like they're going to be able to do so as Saltshakers are just pushed away here.
Yeah, it's really important fort for Jaina to take out. Saltshakers will need to find a kill, basically, or a proper fight in order to not get snowballed into 20 from Jaina the Frost Mage, really. I'm just looking at the Baron build. It's really quite clever how he's built this. So he's gone for Victory Rush at 7, which is the 30-second cooldown massive heal, which is reduced with minion takedowns, and then Mortal Strike at 13. So if when he hits a target with Taunt, not only can he, in theory, massively heal himself from any burst damage, such as what Diablo might do to him, he also reduces their healing receipt. So that's going to nullify a lot of Stukov's healing. And with no cleanse available, and we actually see Pox Populi instead of Super Strain at 16, so there's no sort of burst heal from CC, that it's very hard, really, for any target to live if Varian is going to hit them with that Heroic Strike Taunt.
Yeah, absolutely. Very strong burst combo. Trying to dive in on the Dahaka, but with the tunneling claws there, he's going to be able to slide on out. But that's not going to deter Jaina the Frost Mage. They've got the Bruiser camp pushing here. They're just going to go for it. Nice cleanse by Malfurion, getting Sonya out of the drag by Dahaka there.
And here's Varian looking for something. That's the taunt onto the hacker.
And we've seen this story before. They are falling like flies. Unfortunately, CoB Saltshakers getting caught up by that wombo combo. Leap into Ring of Frost. Twilight Dream coming in as a follow-up as well.
It's almost unnecessary to have to use the other heroics. The basic would be enough, it looks like. And once again, it's Horrify was used, but only as a response. And they need to find a way to initiate a fight on their own terms rather than just trying to respond, because their response simply is not good enough. And at 20, it's going to get even harder for them.
It certainly is, and that 20 is looming right around the corner here as Jaina the Frost Mage already with that level 19. Saltshakers just hit that level 17, and Jaina the Frost Mage just looking to make the safe plays around the map, get themselves that level 20 before they take any big fights. And
interesting that they didn't channel this DK immediately, because it's given an opportunity for an even talented fight for Saltshakers around the shrine. Though it doesn't actually look like Jaina wants to take this right now. Sonya needs to be very careful, of course, but they're just going to get pressure onto bot keeps. I really like this decision making, not giving them that fight on even talented, instead just getting a free keep wall, which will of course help them to get to 20, as you said.
Yeah, absolutely, and it's like really close now. They get the pick off here onto Diablo. That's got to be a kill here, and Diablo does indeed go down, and that means the level 20 is going to kick in. Sonya looking to try and make a rotation to pick up the DK, and I've got to feel if they're able to get this this objective with the level 20, Diablo's still down for 30 seconds. That's looks like game to me.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's 100% a keep. And if there's another kill, or even, I'm not sure if the DK can quite just go through the keep, go to core immediately. Hands are going down is a huge pick off though, and that's going to make defending this so much harder.
Just that trace of Varian enough to secure that kill onto Hanzo, who after all is a relatively squishy target. We did see Gul'dan and Stukov looking to try and deny the Dragon Knight through capping the bottom shrine. Weren't able to get there in time. They do manage to back safely though, so they will be here for the defense, but Gul'dan getting taunted. Stukov with the flailing arm does secure the escape for Gul'dan there, but that's a cooldown out, and taunt is going to be back up very shortly. Kick sending Diablo all the way back home. Gul'dan dropping low. The Tracer level 20 kicks in, but Tracer herself falling to that Diablo wall stun. The counter kill does come out, and we do have all 5 members of Saltshakers, but the DK is on the core. APOC pounding away. The DK does drop the core so low, and Blizzard and the Sonya is going to be enough to secure it. That is going to be it. Good game, well played by both the teams, but Jaina the Frost Mage able to take the win in this first game and put themselves ahead in the series.
Yeah, and in pretty lethal fashion as well, certainly showing why their Jaina is their flag bearer, as it were. But of course, a lot has to be credited to Jaina's friend and companion, formerly Varian, for setting up so much of that. And of course, the old mental mouth getting involved as well, landing a beautiful Twilight Dream right at the end there to prevent that huge combo that the APOC was looking like it was going to set up.
Yeah.
So very nicely executed by Jaina the Frost Mage. Really nice use of that comp. And Saltshakers will certainly have to be thinking a little bit now of how do we respond in the second game. Are we going to just ban this out, or are we going to kind of anticipate something similar once again, but draft best around it?
Yeah, that's it. You know, in these kind of best of three scenarios, you always have to be looking for the way how you want to adjust going into the next game, and whether that's, you know, a specific map that you feel you're particularly ready for, or a different composition, or just a narrow tweak on how you responded to the opponent's composition. Those kind of things, can all make a huge difference going into game two.
And it is going to be Infernal Shrines picked by Saltshakers, so they certainly have a map in mind. It remains to be seen, of course, how they'll play this one out. Because they wouldn't be surprised if that comp gets the similar kind of value on this map either.
That's certainly true. I mean, we do see, looking at their history this season, at least, they have picked Infernal Shrines 4 times out of 6. And I've got to imagine maybe 1 or 2 of those other map picks might even have been when Infernal Shrines was banned, or when it was not the first game and they'd already played the map. So they're definitely keen on the map, definitely feel comfortable here. Hopefully they're going to be able to bring something a little bit different that will throw Jaina the Frost Mage off.
Yeah, there are certainly different ways you can play Infernal Shrines. I mean, you can have a kind of macro-focused global style where you don't intend to contest the first shrine really, but instead just get yourself a nice lead and get pressure on the map. You can go for quite snowball, almost cheesy comps, focused entirely on getting the shrine and then trying to get as much value out of it as you possibly can. So if they have a plan, it'd be interesting to see exactly what that is. I mean, my personal bias always says I'll go on someone pick like Sylvanas with Syndragosa or something, but sadly that doesn't happen too much. We do have a single Kerrigan pick, which did lead to a win, and Kerrigan is definitely very strong on this map. So that could be an option. And actually, Saltshakers have played Sylvanas 3 times this season and won twice, which is probably more than like any other team. So it's certainly a possibility.
Right, yes. Yes. I had a feeling I had a feeling I knew that name for a reason. And there are actually 2 reasons now that I recall where I placed that name from previous season's casts. He plays a mean Sylvanas and also a convection KT. So I wonder whether
I think I've encountered his KT before, actually, now you mention it.
Yeah. So we may be definitely possibly seeing one of those options coming out from Saltshakers in this game 2 on Infernal Shrines, where both of those heroes can bring a lot of value to the team.
So missing a couple of players. I think they there was a statement from Jaina the Frost Mage that they would like a few minutes. So of course we can do that.
Fair enough. Well, in that case, let's us pop on a quick break as well. And we'll be back in just a couple of minutes to bring you Game 2 on Infernal Shrines. Thank you for bearing with us, ladies and gentlemen. We are back to bring you the rest of this Season 6 Heroes Lounge match between CoB Saltshakers and Jaina the Frost Mage. We are going into Game 2 on Infernal Shrines with Jaina the Frost Mage a map up and having first pick in the draft. So let's jump on into it and we'll get to see what strategy CoB Saltshakers feel is going to carry them to a win in Game 2.
Yeah, I mean, the most interesting things after a game like that is what the ban is, what they feel is most lethal, if they feel like they need to ban out something that was just picked against them, or if they feel like they should stick with banning out very strong heroes generally. We did, of course, see that targeted Greymane ban initially. And we're here seeing a targeted Sylvanas ban, so that is certainly an interesting adaptation from Jaina the Frost Mage.
Yes,
not
smart
looking
decision
to ban out
by them,
anything against a comp they would want to play, though, so that could come back to bite them.
It could, absolutely, but, you know, I think you've got to suspect something, right?
Yeah.
And in this case, Jaina the Frost Mage have correctly spotted that Sylvanas in the match history of Saltshakers, and they're going to restrict that option, prevent them from going down that get Sylvanas, get an early objective, push, win type strategy that can really absolutely carry games on Infernal Shrines.
For sure. And of course, I mean, Sylvanas was changed a little bit recently. Her trait is now much harder to apply, but in exchange, she does do some increased damage. And I've been playing her with a level 16 talent Remorseless, which gives bonus damage after ability usage, which does count for every single one of her Q charges. So that actually amounts to some serious burst damage. But I'm... I mean, I can see just a Phoenix ban and a Diablo first pick. I'm a huge fan of that, for sure.
Seems very reasonable on both accounts, really. Diablo, very strong in Infernal Shrines. Very good generally, also, let's not forget, against early aggressive strategies. So if Saltshakers were looking to do something a little bit cheesy or a little bit funky going into Game 2 here, Diablo is a good choice because he can flip people over walls if you start getting too aggressive into a defensive Diablo. So, yeah, I like that decision by them.
Yeah, one of the other kind of cheesy type things you can do that is pretty solid on this map is, of course, Cho'Gall. I think this is one of the better Cho'Gall maps. It's certainly the map I used to run him on a lot when we did play him back in yesteryear. And Diablo, very nice at dealing with that as well. And it does make any kind of attempt to go into the shrine area really risky because you will naturally be against the wall. And if Diablo has an opportunity, especially, of course, after 13, 16, you can just annihilate your front line before the fight's even begun. So, huge power pick for sure. And we see Mouth Sonya is the opening from Saltshaker, which doesn't say all that much.
No, it leaves them very open. I mean, Malfurion is just generically pretty solid as a support at the moment. Provides a lot of good tools and a lot of sustained healing. Sonya, I've got to feel like that was maybe at least partially a pick away from Jaina the Frost Mage. They did get that one in Game 1, right?
Yes, they did, but I think the real pick away is the Mouth. I mean, Mouth sets up so much. He is a bit harder to work with Diablo, but you can still certainly do it if you place your roots correctly. But just removing a Mouth is a very strong CC chain that's removed. However, of course, the other option is that Sukop, and he pops in along with a Tychus. Quite an early Tychus for this draft.
Yeah, that's interesting to me. I mean, maybe it's just that they wanted a solid pick up here, and Tychus is never going to be bad. Obviously, you've already got the Sonya. You know there's going to be a double warrior composition coming from Saltshakers. It's also fair to say post 10, you shouldn't underestimate the impact of Odin around those objective phases. That can be that can be a really big deal. He can provide a lot of long range siege pressure onto the objective, and can clear the Shrine Guardians pretty effectively as well. So I think there's a lot of reasons to gravitate towards the Tychus. But the fact that they picked it up before the second ban phase, I don't think means that they thought it was going to get banned or picked away. I think that means that they wanted to hide or potentially just remain flexible with the last picks on their draft.
Yeah, definitely. That's the main thing that it does, I think. Just ensures that whatever it is that Saltshakers have in mind that they're going to pick up with these next 2 picks, they can react to them. So that's obviously a smart way of going about it. And of course, Tychus does work quite well against the Diablo, if that could have been a route that Saltshakers might have gone down.
True.
So I don't think they're that scared of it, just trying to make sure that their options are still open.
Interestingly, Tychus can do okay into Sonya as well. We could see like Zeratul Jaina. They could have been trying to hide like a massive wombo combo affair from Jaina the Frostmage by picking up the Tychus in that slot.
Yeah, it's possible, isn't it? Leaving the 2 picks open.
It's just just occurred to me as we were looking at the draft that would be a feasible route for them to take this composition down. But it is going to be Saltshakers here with the next double pickup. Oh, the bet. Yes, I forgot about the bet. What about the bet?
I like that there's actually there's not been a Jaina ban, so they haven't gone to the extent of showing that level of respect to Jaina the Frostmage, and I can't help but feel that if I were Jaina the Frostmage, I would just pick it again. I mean, it worked so well in the first game. Granted, you're with a very different setup this time around, but she has a lot of value on this map as well, and especially into Sonya post 16, if you go for the route, like, it really can create some difficulties for Sonya. So I wouldn't mind that at all, and the potential of comboing it with APOC alone is great, but with Zeratul potentially would be even better, of course. And we're actually going to see Kel'Thas, so one old school mage is picked up. Let's see if we get the other one.
We will see coming up now from Jaina the Frostmage, but we have opened the betting. You've got about 5 minutes to bet on your favourite team, favourite composition going into this game 2 as we come towards the end of the draft here. Jaina does do very well on the map, provides a lot of wave clear.
That's a controversial statement, because that was always my belief. I thought Jaina was fantastic on this map, of course, thanks to all that wave clear. And of course, she does work quite nicely into the Tychus. She doesn't fear Diablo or Stukov quite so much, thanks to Iron Skin. And this is her worst performing map by a long way in the HGC. She is 5-14 on it. And of course, Division 3 of Heroes Lounge is not the HGC, but it is still worth noting when a hero is performing consistently well in general, but very poorly on one particular map. So I'm not quite sure exactly why, but something worth noting. And Chromie Malthael is not the direction I thought we were going to be going down for sure.
No, that is definitely a divergence from what I was expecting as well. I do like the Chromie into the Johanna. Johanna obviously not the best at diving in on a very long range siege damage dealer like Chromie. Doesn't provide the best clear on the shrines themselves, but can be very impactful poking in on a team that is trying to clear the shrine because they're going to be in a more predictable location. So I can see the value of the Chromie there. The Malthael, I mean, I do think Malthael is strong into Sonya in the 1v1. And can be good in the... Whoa, okay.
Oh, I love that pick. I love it.
I like that pick as well. That's a lot of macro pressure coming out from CoB Saltshakers, picking up the global on that Falstad. I think that's a very strong pickup for them. The wave clear from Jaina the Frostmage, it's not bad, but it's not the best either.
I mean, I will go one further and say that it's actually pretty poor unless they are willing to commit a lot of abilities that normally would be going onto heroes onto waves instead. I mean, Stukov Silence, maybe Diablo not anchoring but instead clearing waves, maybe Chromie dropping a W on there, Stukov maybe even having to use Silence. Not only that, it means that there's very little camp pressure that they can get reliably. They can't do camps quickly at all. They don't really have any solos except for Malthael, who takes his time, and of course when he's in the solo doesn't really have that time. Whereas of course we have Sonya, we have Falstad, who can build in so many different ways, and of course Falstad adds that option to disengage as well. Diablo wants to go in with an APOC, gust away, not all that much you can do about it. So I'm a massive fan of that pick, and it as well. Falstad can build either into Seasoned Marksman or Q or even W, and it deals really effectively with Malthael, with Diablo when they're in, and of course he can even barrel roll or fly onto a Chromie, and unless she's able to hit all of her stuff on him, he can chunk her down super fast. So massive fan of that Falstad pick here.
Yeah, seems like it's got a lot of potential, and we are seeing Sane on his signature KT there, so I'm definitely going to be keeping an eye on him as the game progresses. But we are now into game 2 of the best of 3 between CoB Saltshakers and Jaina the Frostmage. On the right hand side in red, Jaina the Frostmage are 1 game up in the series and looking to close it out with a win here on Infernal Shrines. It is going to be Talia on Stukov, Grek playing Chromie, Hesbub on the Malthael, Inverse Beast on Tychus, and Brill will be playing Diablo.
And on the left-hand side, the blue team down 1-0 in the series, looking to respond and bring it back on their map pick. It is the CoB Saltshakers with Gwells on Sonya, Lasseroth on Malfurion, Sane playing Mana Addict, Kael'thas, Dino on the Falstad, and Johanna being played by Balabab.
Awesome. Well, Sonya immediately starts off the game in the top lane here. We're going to be seeing Malthael rotating up, of course, to join her, as the rest of the teams are brawling a little bit. That's silence from the Stukov, forcing Saltshakers back here. It's going to be Gathering Storm from Falstad.
Curious choice. I still think it's pretty easy to stack, and given that Falstad is going to be in the 4-man with Sonya in the solo, that obviously allows him the opportunity to stack that up, but equally he'd be able to stack Seasoned Marksman between 2 lanes very effectively as well.
Certainly.
Of course, come late game, once that begins to power up and you are chucking it down those entrances into the shrines, you are getting pretty massive value out of it. So I do like that. I'm actually a huge fan of Wingman nowadays. Falstad is actually my highest level hero, so I play him a fair bit. The changes to it, I think, have made it very good at dealing with kind of melee assassin type things. I mean, that's always what it was good for, but especially a Malthael, you get a W on someone once you have some stacks, you actually do about 4,000 damage after level 13 if everyone lands.
Yeah.
So that's pretty good.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So yeah, but either way, Gathering Storm still has a lot of value and will help a lot with clearing waves even faster.
Yeah, it's the big burst damage option, right? Ultimately, like it's the one that's going to give you the ability to, if you can get onto a Chromie or a Tychus, actually provide a lot of very quick damage. The Gathering, and we do see KT getting a little bit caught out. Chromie with the follow-up, but KT's going to be able to get out of there. And going to be just fine for now.
So Jaina the Frostmage did commit pretty heavily to take the siege camp, and it took them a long while. They had to use most of Chromie's resources and the Stukov Silence and the Tychus to eventually get it down. They did kind of give up some XP doing this, so we see temporary lead for Saltshakers, but their rotation is a little bit askew. They do miss this bot wave and give up the bot camp as well. They're heading down there now. And there's only 3 of them here for Jaina the Frostmage. If they sniff this out, this could be an invade, and actually Frostmage looking like they're going to back off.
Chromie is fast approaching though. The silence comes out and it's good, but Johanna, not willing to give this one up, is positioning aggressively. Malfurion and Kael'thas dropping low on the backline there to the Chromie damage. Diablo charging charging Johanna off the point, and the rotation from Malthael there, turning it into a 5v4, does allow them to secure the kill, and that's going to be first blood there for Jaina the Frostmage.
I've got a little bit in two minds. We saw Johanna just really not wanting to give it up. Well, the rest of the team had Amalf and KT had taken a lot of damage from Chromie and were just saying, "Hey, just back off." Basically, I think maybe a miscommunication. I think ultimately the tank not realizing that her backline was nowhere near as healthy as she was, and not wanting to fight into the Chromie, and then Malphite, of course, coming down to get that kill, and it will lead to a very nice lead. And I don't really see Saltshakers contesting this. It doesn't look like they're going to.
No, they're not even trying. They're looking to try and get XP. They're going to get a little bit of a free structural pressure on the bottom lane, and I like that decision by them. We don't often see these first Punishers doing huge amounts of value, unless, of course, you do have something like a Sylvanas to support it. So...
Sidewall goes down, and I think Diablo wants to follow up somewhere, but the Punisher is baited away from where he is, so nicely done by Saltshakers there. It's still going to get pretty solid value taking out towers. The well could go down as well. More stacks being racked up by Chromie. I mean, she's only onto 9 at the moment, so she will have to start getting that up a little bit more into the late game. But of course, with no contesting on the shrine, Falstad wasn't able to get his.
No, and in fact, the only person doing particularly well on stacks is that Mana Addict on Kael'thas. Nice rotation there by Saltshakers, securing the kill onto Malthael. Sonya obviously managing to bait him far enough out that the rotation was enough to get the kill.
It's a big commitment though, 5-man commitment with flight used by Falstad as well, and then they don't actually do all that much with that kill. I mean, I would have said, right, with 5 up here, the next shrine is spawning in top, let's at least take this wall down. Maybe even take the well with 5 here, let's get something of it. Okay, our camp's going to get stolen. At most we miss maybe 2 waves of XP, maybe a tower. But if we get the wall and the well up here, it makes getting that pick worth. A pick is only a pick. It doesn't give that much XP. You need to really do something with it.
That's absolutely right. And we do see, although Saltshakers have managed to get a little bit of a lead on XP, I definitely think that they could have pushed that a little bit further and maybe got more of an advantage off that, as you were saying. So we do see Malthael now back in lane. Sonya Malthael just not really moving much in either direction without the assistance of the team rotation there. Jaina getting flipped in by Diablo, but there's no wall there, and Iron Skin is going to be plenty to make the escape. We do see the top camp, the Bruiser camp, being picked up here by Jaina the Frostmage. They need to be extremely careful, as level 10 is now kicking in for Saltshakers, and if they manage to force some sort of fight here before level 10's hit for Jaina the Frostmage, that is going to be a problem.
I mean, it says a lot about how much better the macro is from Saltshakers with the wave clear that they have in this comp, that even though they lost that first Punisher, they are still far ahead in terms of getting to level 10 and in XP in general. We are seeing some missed rotations from Jaina the Frostmage. They're missing XP here and there. They're not quite all together. They're not quite getting everything they need done. The downside is there aren't that many options for Saltshakers to create more pressure on the map with this objective. The camp is going to be pushing down the lane where the objective is, and no other camps are available because of the timing that they were taken, and indeed their own siege camp was taken by Jaina the Frostmage. So that is a slight shame. It's not the end of the world, of course, but we will be going into this objective fight seemingly with everyone together, while Falstad is clearing up mid lane. One level ahead, but same talent here.
Nice combo landed by Chromie onto Malfurion there, and we do see the slowing sands going down very early, looking for Jaina the Frostmage to secure the shrine itself. Falstad still in mid lane. Sonya leaping in, does get time trapped, and that denies the value from the leap. Malthael, though, with the last rites onto Johanna, securing first blood in the fight there, and Jaina the Frostmage taking a bit of an edge here as we move into this second objective. Fly did get used, so there's no additional XP being soaked by Saltshakers right now. It does look like Falstad is actually just going to pull back here and look to go and soak the lane. and in fact the rest of Saltshakers as well, are conceding this objective.
I do think they could have contested if they wanted to. I mean, Johanna is back now. And yeah, a little bit, again, in two minds. Bob, I think, a little bit too aggressive on his Johanna and not quite appreciating the status of the rest of his team when he does so. Just going in before Falstad was there, before the team were really ready to make that engage. Leap got baited out and didn't really achieve anything, and then Johanna was chunked down sort of just as Falstad was arriving. But they do decide to just leave it. It's only a mortal punisher, so the weaker of the three punishers, and they will just continue to gain an XP advantage. Though it does make me think how Falstad would have been better off with Seasoned Marksman if he had all of those stacks instead of just a few Gathering Storm stacks.
Indeed, but we do see the engage with the Punisher. All 5 members of Saltshakers are here. Malthiel is not. He has gone down to soak the mid and bot lanes, and Saltshakers will defend the fort from the Punisher, but looks like it's going down. No, Jaina the Frost Mage making the safety play, leaving the fort on 112 hit points.
Yes, that's a fire stomp away from dying.
Oh, yeah.
So 5-man commitment to save that fort, and they do so. So that's obviously something. And now they're looking for a fight, ideally, while they have this Talenter advantage, one would imagine. And again, Jaina the Frost Mage is split up, looking for something to do. This camp's going to spawn shortly, so perhaps they could try to steal it away with that Talenter advantage, but it doesn't look like they're willing to make that risk. Of course, Jaina the Frost Mage's comp is very good into chokes, so that's something worth considering. Instead, they're just going to grab this bot camp and sort of be happy with that.
Yeah, I mean, it's nice to grab the camp while it's available, but they're not going to get any huge amounts of value with it, and by the time they've got it, 13 is basically here. The fight actually happening just before 13, but it does now kick in. Diablo getting silenced by the Twilight Dream there, but is able to pull away. This is a 4v5 for Jaina the Frost Mage, but so far they are making the defense work. Diablo has to pull back, but that top fort does go down, and Malthiel continuing to get additional XP, additional soak as this, as this brawl went on.
Yeah, it's a big commitment in terms of abilities used to try and take that Diablo, and of course, had he not been a fully stacked Diablo, he probably would have gone down. The silence from CoB and the Twilight Dream, a nice stun from Kel'Thas, the root, and all the damage, and yet he lives through all of it. And in the meantime, Malthiel is bringing Jaina the Frost Mage closer and closer in terms of XP to equalizing it. Breeze back and going for Malth.
Yeah, the time trap setting that up really nice. The APOC comes out, but Diablo is dropping very low. Flailing swipe used by Stukov to get him clear. Malthiel was deep, but looks like he's going to just about be able to squeak out of there. And a lot of abilities used, but neither team able to actually secure a kill. Diablo very low on health here. And
must have a tap soon.
Yeah, I guess so. Let's have a look. Looks like we are now live with the tap. It instantly hit by the Diablo, and we see that health bar just immediately racking back up.
So yeah, good ability.
Yeah.
Yeah, again, he very nearly died, but just has so much health, he's able to just live through it. I mean, Kel'Thas's damage just isn't that effective at this point against huge amounts of hit points. But they were still able, despite not really having the same amount of heroics they did before, to prevent any losses. And they did enough damage to Malthiel to deter him from committing to try and get another hit on last right. So I think well done by Saltshakers to avoid what could have been a bad loss. And now they're looking to get themselves 16 because Falstad was doing what Malthiel was doing before and getting free split soak.
Yeah, so Falstad in top lane, not only getting the nice soak there, also going to give the camp advantage to Saltshakers, as he is obviously taking out the Shaman camp that Jaina the Frost Mage had. He is now flying in. Nice safe fly there from Falstad. Phoenix comes out as the Jaina the Frost Mage are nearly complete with the objective. Sonya leaping in, APOC comes down, so does So does Odin here. The flailing swipe saving Stukov for the time being. But the fight goes on. Odin able to secure the last shrine minions. Diablo and Sonya very low. Last rites nearly, and that is going to be enough to secure the kill onto Sonya. So both the kill and the objective picked up by Jaina the Frostmage here. Even though they are down currently a talent tier, that is going to give them quite an advantage as they're going to push in aggressively onto this fort.
Yeah, it was just the execution was lacking. I think the fly-in was just a little bit late. I mean, I love the play to get to 16, but they were just giving up too many Shrine Guardians in the meantime. And then they dived Stukov brilliantly with lead, got him super low, and pretty much removed him from the fight. Of course, he can't really heal effectively if he's far away. But then Sonya massively overstaying, trying to commit basically in a 1v3, while the rest of her team was just trying to finish off the Shrine. Sonya gets taken out and they lose the Shrine anyway, so good thought processes from Saltshakers, but just the execution and the final crucial decision making and target choice just isn't quite there.
Yeah, not quite linked up, I guess, is how it feels to me. You know, just a couple of different ideas going on, and any of them, if they were all doing it together, maybe would work, but obviously when you're trying to do too many things at once, it becomes a problem.
And interesting, we have Giant Killer on 13 from Jaina in an effort to do a little bit more damage to Diablo, which once again begs the question why he didn't go Seasoned Marksman, because the best thing about Gathering Storm is when you go into Flowrider and reduce your cooldown and can just throw out Q after Q after Q, but still with only 17 stacks, it's just not that effective. So it's a shame, because if you have a very highly Seasoned Marksman and Giant Killer stacked Falstad, you can chunk down frontliners like Diablo quite easily. But speaking of...
Yeah, CC comes in and Diablo falls. The APOC not quite in time to save him. We did see a lot of focus there onto that Diablo from the entire team of Saltshakers, and it was enough to bring him down. The Souls
first time
has
they were
brought him
able
back, but he's going to need to farm that back up.
Yeah, and that's a really important kill. I mean, they've tried multiple times to take that Diablo down and commit so much onto him, and every time they've tried thus far, they've failed. But now they've finally taken him out. They've reset that soul count, and of course preventing him from stacking up his Devastating Charge, which is only at 1 stack. And now they're actually, I was really worried that they were not going to get anything from it, but now they've actually gone and taken themselves a fort. They are still ahead by a whole level, so we're now looking at who's going to get to 20 first, and for the time being, Saltshakers are still ahead. However, they do have some pressure they have to respond to.
That's correct, but they did sensibly take out the top fort. They knew that members of Jaina the Frostmage were on the bottom side of the map. They've secured that top fort, knowing that the next objective will be spawning in the top lane when it does so in a few moments. And if they can secure that, that's potentially going to be enough to allow them to take a keep, especially if they can get their level 20 before pushing with that objective.
Right, Developer's getting a little bit overextended, but really nice CC from the Kael'thas, and it's going to be turned.
Yeah, lovely CC chain. The silence was really good. Sonya with the leap in as well, and Malthael is the one that falls. And I think that was a 5v4 as well.
It was.
From, to Jaina the Frostmage's advantage, with the Falstad just not being there, looking to clear out the camp in the bottom lane. So that is got to be pretty uncomfortable for Jaina the Frostmage. Falstad using Gus just to delay the damage onto this fort. I think that's probably not worth it.
Maybe afraid that Diablo was going to get in range for a shadow charge, and of course if he was in range, it's pretty hard to live with Falstad. Like you're so squished. So just playing it safe, of course. Gus not a long cooldown, should be back up in time for the next fight, or by the end of the next fight. It looks like they're going to stop this shrine on 39, and I don't think they have enough time to soak all the way to 20, and in trying to do so would give Jaina the Frostmage enough time to get themselves at least a big chunk of XP. It looks like they're just going to try and clear out this camp and then finish off the objective.
Yeah, you know, I feel like they are
I
going
think 20
for
is not far away.
and going to be able to get 20 before Jaina the Frostmage can clear the shrine.
Yeah, with all these lanes pushed in, I actually kind of underestimated how much XP was being thrown at them from the side of Jaina the Frostmage. So they are looking like they're going to be able to get 20 at least very shortly. However, we now have Jaina the Frostmage on this objective and starting to rack up kills pretty fast. So
Yeah, I mean, there's still a long old way off the 40, though, not even quite halfway, and it is the work of a single Q from, of course, our Kale Fast there to secure the objective. So that is going to be level 20, Mortar Punisher pushing into this top keep, and Saltshakers looking to try and make a really strong play in the late game here to try and secure this game 2 and even up the series.
it's Nexus Frenzy from Falstad. I'm so confused, but
that is pretty sad, disappointing. But yeah, we do see Johanna diving in very deep with the Punisher here. Sonya as well, but actually Malfurion taking huge damage from the Chromie. Sonya ending up fighting on her own against 3, but Johanna and John Cena jumping in to the rescue there. Stukov with a nice silence, and Odin has been used, but Saltshakers still have a half health Punisher, and they are now onto Core here. Apoc coming down, Diablo going in for the combo, but Falstad not going to get caught out, as we did see a great gravity lapse from KT, but Tyker's coming in with the damage. Chromie, with the huge combos. And that is a big deal, as 2 kills get given up by Saltshakers. They don't even actually secure or manage to take down the full shield on the Core here. And so they got nothing out of trying to push on towards the Core. They obviously got the keep, so they're still ahead. But level 20 is here for Jaina the Frostmage, and Diablo is going to be up before either of the dead members of Saltshakers. So Frostmage, in theory, have the advantage on the map right now. At the moment, all they're looking towards is this siege camp. And
yeah, they've left Chromie up top to just de-push a little bit. I'm really surprised and impressed that they actually held that. When Diablo charged in with that APOC and basically missed his combo on anyone and failed to get the kill and was taken out, I thought that was game for sure. But then we saw a really, really nice combo of the silence from Stukov and a grenade from Tychus to take 1 kill, and Chromie just hitting a huge series of combos and taking... Well, she actually picked up both kills in the end, and that was enough to save the Core. Of course, the macro advantage will be here now with this keep for Saltshakers, and one thing that Falstad can do is basically just constantly push this lane in. Or how Sonya getting picked off, double Sun from Diablo, the leap...
Not enough.
AA chasing her. She leapt away from the Chromie.
That was a bronze talent.
It was.
Let's not underestimate that bad boy. We're going to see a pick-off. And that, of course, in the late game is a huge, huge deal. Losing 1 member like that means that Saltshakers cannot fight Jaina the Frostmage for the next 40 seconds, and Jaina the Frostmage plan to capitalize on that as hard as they possibly can, pushing in here with this Shaman camp onto the top keep, trying to equalize the pressure onto these lanes, but I can't think that they're going to be able to actually secure the keep here.
No, I mean, their sieging is solid if they wanted to commit with the Odin. Of course, it's risky for Saltshakers to be trying to defend in this way. They have great defense with Falstad, with KT, but if Chromie is able to get a pick, or if Diablo is able to charge someone, it could have been more kills, and of course, more kills around this keep would basically be game. Yeah. So it was a risk, but they positioned very defensively, they positioned smartly, they were able to defend with little to no losses, but Jaina the Frostmage didn't want to really commit for it. They didn't burn any heroics, they didn't chuck Odin in, they didn't do anything like that, they just played it safe. So we're going to be having a pretty even shrine fight, and this one is going to have a pretty solid impact on the rest of the game. But what I would love to see is if Falstad just commits to pushing this lane in as hard as he can. However, the shrine being here does mean that Jaina the Frostmage can respond, but currently they have to worry about potentially getting backdoored, but it doesn't look like that's what's going to happen.
No, Saltshakers not going to commit to the back door here. In fact, pulling back as hard as they can, trying to make sure not to get pinched off in the retreat. But a little bit of an advantage for Jaina the Frostmage on the Shrine Guardians here. 12-15 now already picked up by them, and they're going to look to try and secure this objective, which probably would manage to even up the keeps on these teams. But the core being under attack by catapults has pulled Malthael away.
And I'm really surprised when Malthael shows on this defense that we don't see a harder engage from Saltshakers. I mean, I'm talking like Fly Gust could be a thing. Instead, Falstad's going to get... Oh, great cleanse from Malf, actually.
But Odin does get thrown down by Tychus. Diablo trying to help get out of there, but it's not enough. He is going to go down. And Saltshakers here.
Here we go.
Oh, here comes the Fly Gust, and it is good. But it might be the death of Falstad. No, he's going to juke and jive his way out of there. Odin gets a big heal, and Chromie with the combo. Gonna land the damage, get the kill onto Falstad. And that is very good news. Jaina the Frostmage were in a lot of trouble if they were a man down trying to make this defense. Now, they still don't have a tank, but they do have quite a lot of damage. And ooh,
I can honestly say if Falstad was built differently, he would have killed all of them. If he had the cooldown reduction, he would have got 2 or 3 Qs off. And if he had more stacks in his Q, like, he could have just deleted that 3-man. If he had Seasoned Marksman, he would have been able to just attack and sustain his way through that. As it is, they failed to capitalize, and basically they can't win the game right here, but they still get a keep, and they're still threatening, and Chromie actually gets stunned and blown up, and that is a big problem.
Yeah, it is. That was a great attempt to peel with the Stukov Silence, but it wasn't enough. It is 4v4 on core, but the core is dropping 30%. It is falling very low, 5%, and that is going to be it.
Wow.
CoB Saltshakers seeing a window, and I wasn't even sure the window was there, but they saw it, and they're going to cut to the chase and close Game 2 out, taking us to Game 3 in this series.
Yeah, Chromie had used her Ice Block earlier to avoid the stun from John Cena, and she didn't have it there, and she was positioned just too far forward, positioned almost as if she had that Ice Block.
Sure.
And paid the price and ultimately cost the team the game. So unfortunate, because of course she defended it so well that first core push, but second is a success.
Indeed, indeed. So that is going to be a win for Saltshakers. It is going to send us into Game 3 of this best of 3, but it also means that you maybe could... If I find out where we're going for the next map, could you have a word with our next captains? Because we're going to need them to delay if possible.
Ah, yes, indeed.
So... let's find out what Jaina the Frostmage want to do in terms of the map for Game 2, and then we'll work from there. Sorry, Game 3, of course, and then we'll work from there. Okay. So it seems like Jaina the Frostmage are giving some serious consideration to what they want to do with their choice for the third match third map of the set.
I don't blame them, of course. There's
No.
a lot to think about. I think they did get outdrafted in this second game. They certainly struggled to deal with the macro pressure that the comp of Saltshakers gave them. And I think definitely choosing a map where they can execute a comp of their dreams, basically, in the same way that they did in that first game, is going to be obviously integral to their success, because if they let a similar situation happen, I think they will struggle once again. It does seem, from what I've seen from these two games, that Jaina the Frost Mage has the better team fight. I think they do seem to be able to coordinate 5v5 engagements better than Saltshakers. But Saltshakers have shown that they can, if they have the right comp, win a macro game. And that's why we're seeing Towers of Doom as the map choice.
Okay. Are you ready already for setting up the lobby? Because I was going to do that.
Yeah, I'm on it.
Okay, great stuff. So, yeah, going over to Towers of Doom, that is going to give Jaina the Frost Mage, I should think, all the opportunities to team fight that they could ever want. So hopefully they're going to be able to figure out how they want to play it out in the game 3 to work out as best as they can. Sorry, trying to juggle a couple of things here at the moment, folks. Okay.
Yeah, so the next guys have said they're happy to wait 5 to 10 minutes.
Yeah, we should probably tell them not to wait then, and we'll jump in game 2, because given that, I mean, there's no guarantee this game is done in 20 minutes and we're ready to start.
Yeah,
so,
towers can be quite long.
Yeah, so let's not take the risk. But that's, I mean, we'll still jump in with them. We'll just have to skip the game 1.
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay, we've got our teams into the lobby. Let's make sure they're ready, because ideally we should jump on into this one as quickly as we can. Okay, so what are we expecting to see differently in terms of the comps onto this next map here?
I mean, can be similar to Infernal Shrines in the sense there are multiple ways to play it out. You do see a higher priority onto globals and onto macro pressure, but it's almost entirely centered around gradually securing Bell Tower control, especially in the bot lane, and being able to get Sabra control. There's a lot less camps, or far fewer camps, I should say, if I want to be correct. There isn't the same physical objective that needs contesting. It's all about zone control and ultimately fighting out primarily over that bot lane. I think that should favor Jaina the Frost Mage, but if they want to draft something like a Jaina, they have to be very aware of the large open space that this map has, because that can lead to flanks, it can lead to gusts, it can lead to all kinds of things. So Tracer being removed does make sense, because she has a great time running around in all of that open space and being able to poke and prod as much as she likes.
And again, we've seen the second pick team banning out the Phoenix. I believe that's gone through in all 3 of our maps here. So neither of these teams willing to leave the Phoenix open for their opponents to potentially first pick. And yeah, it's going to be Saltshakers with the first pick once again. We saw Diablo was the first pick in game 2. I can't remember what... Oh, there was the Hanzo, right? That Saltshakers first picked game 1. So
which wouldn't be a bad first pick again here.
Certainly not.
There's definitely a lot of value for Hanzo on this map. equally, there's a lot of value for Diablo. I think he does especially well with his Medivh combo on this map.
Mm-hmm.
That is the way they're looking to open, at least with the Diablo.
Now, I'm just going to say this, Tiger Karika. I do appreciate your reminder, but I did remember before I saw that message. The betting is now live for Game 3, ladies and gentlemen, so make sure to bet on your favourite team. It is going to be the Diablo coming up as the first pick here from Saltshakers. Jaina the Frost Mage took it away in Game 1, and in Game 2, and they apparently were not happy about that. They're going to make absolutely sure to secure it for themselves this time around.
Yeah, I think he does work very well on this map as well, especially when it comes to contesting altars in the top side of the map, the 2 altars that spawn, because of how much more narrow that area is, how many more walls there are. I think that's where Diablo can really shine, but of course he also is an endless threat if you're fighting around the kill zone in that bot lane trying to push sappers in. Diablo is able to yank one of you and chuck you into that kill zone. It gets it's killy, as it were.
Oh yes, well I mean it's right there in the name. So that was. So this is now the flipped reverse draft from Game 2, with the Sonya Mouth getting taken by Jaina the Frost Mage this time around. So it was Stukov and I can't remember. Stukov and Tychus that Jaina the Frost Mage grabbed in their 2-3 in Game 2. So,
I mean, Stukov is brilliant on this map.
Yeah, I expect
bad either.
I mean, Tychus can absolutely work. There's no doubt about that. I wonder whether we're going to see something more in line of a pick away, perhaps, on the Chromie.
That could work.
No, okay. They're throwing the book completely out the window. Now, this tells me that Saltshakers are comfortable not getting the Stukov, because your opponents pick Malfurion. You've got to expect that they're probably banning the Stukov. They might not, obviously, but that's got to be your expectation, I think, in this position.
Yeah, definitely. It's very commonplace. As a support player now, I do actually really like it when the other team has picked up their support early. If they pick up Mouth and we don't pick up Stukov before the second ban phase, because I don't think he's necessary to pick in the way that some people do. Sure. And I love it when the other team wastes bans if we have a particular support in mind. So I do think there is merit to some of the other supports in this situation. I think with a Grey main, you can get a lot of value out of an Uther or a Rhaegar for sure. So that could be something that Saltshakers have in mind. But there is the Stukov ban. The Ning Grey main does offer a very high kill threat if they're able to get the setup right. And it's the kind of thing that would actually pair really nicely with a Varian. But they obviously won't be running that, I would imagine. They do remove the Chromie though, which I think is very smart.
But I mean, Li Ming Greymane is a classic pairing for a reason, right? They provide a lot of poke between the two of them, and Greymane has that ability to just dive in and finish somebody off once they've been poked down a little bit, and that is what allows Li Ming to then get insane value by getting those resets and throwing down huge amounts of AoE and poke damage in a very short amount of time. So that's a pretty standard pair of picks, but it's a little bit surprising to me to see that still coming around. There's a lot of other things that have risen to prevalence over that, but maybe Saltshakers just feeling that they want to go to something that they are super comfortable on, and that they that they know exactly how they want to execute it. And if that is what's going on in this draft, I'm pleased to see that. I think that's a good choice by them.
I mean, it's a classic Game 3 mentality, isn't it? It's okay, we've just tied it up, let's play something that we've played a million times before. It might not be as strong in the meta as it used to be, but we've played it so much, we know how to execute it. We won't have perhaps the same slight miscommunication problems that we saw popping up a little bit before. Like, we all know what to do because we've done this so much. It does kind of make me wonder why they would go to the extent of banning Tracer as their first ban, because when you're playing a comp like this, I'm not sure you're that worried about Tracer.
No, I mean, both Li-Ming and Greymane do pretty well into the Tracer for different reasons.
Yeah, and the thing that is so excellent about dealing with this kind of comp is Mouth, because Twilight Dream can just shut down Greymane when he comes in. He can shut down Li-Ming if she wants to blink him with Calamity.
Yeah.
Like, I would have loved it if, especially since they obviously haven't wanted to pick up their support immediately, if they just threw out a Mouth ban. And you see a Noob as the second pick, which is really interesting. There's the Uther. Into Gul'dan, no less.
Yeah, now that's a very curious choice to me by Saltshakers. I mean, maybe it's more still in line with the... I'm confused. Anyway, the comfort picks, but Uther struggles into Gul'dan because he does so much spread damage over time and sort of sustained damage. And Anubarak doesn't really seem like it fits terribly well into the comp Saltshakers have got here.
I get it, though, because the threat of something like Mouth is obviously still very prevalent, and Cocoon can just shut it down.
Sure.
If you Cocoon Mouth, and then you commit, I mean, apart from anything else, Diablo can charge in, Greymane can charge in, and a noob can charge in as well. So you could commit super heavily onto a single target with 3 charges after banning out Mouth, and how does that target live? They do now have that disengage option with the Gul'dan, and of course they have Johanna to just add so much in that front line, but the utilization of Cocoon will be key to making this comp work, I think.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. They need to get value off that Cocoon, or it feels like they are going to really struggle to actually come out on top in the team fights. They also need to make absolutely sure that when they take team fights, they are short and sharp. They can't afford to have drawn out fights based around poke. That is going to end very, very poorly.
Yeah, I actually had the misfortune of playing Uther on this map as the last game of our series yesterday, which was a TTA classic of stomping the first game and then losing the next 2. Playing Uther into Gul'dan, and there was actually even more poke in that case because there was a Junkrat involved as well, and it was very difficult, even after finishing my quest, to keep the team sustained. Just the cooldowns that Uther has don't allow him to keep his team up over the course of 20 seconds worth of poke. It's 2 heals, and then you better make sure that you've got a kill or the fight is won.
Indeed, but we are now loading into this game 3, so we're going to see how they're able to actually pull that off. It is going to be interesting that Genji provides a lot of threat, but there aren't great targets for him on the side of Saltshakers.
Yeah.
There's a lot of crowd control, so he's going to have to be extremely careful about how he dives in and when and where he's able to actually get his damage done. I think they're going to be relying on Gul'dan quite heavily to provide good ranged poke and just sort of skirmish without taking too much damage to actually allow Genji to be able to go in, and even to a lesser extent Sonya and Johanna.
I wouldn't be surprised if, as this game goes on, we see less soloing from Sonya and more from Genji, just using that mobility he has to be able to move between lanes and get the soak. Like, you can utilize Genji in this way and bring him down, of course, when a full fight is going to break out, because he doesn't do all that much up until that point. But of course, if he's able to get onto Li-Ming when Uther's cooldowns aren't available, then Li-Ming can struggle, of course, because she doesn't have the easiest time hitting a Genji who's dancing around her.
That's certainly true, but we are going to see how this pairs out, because we are now here into game 3 on the left-hand side in blue. it is once again CoB Saltshakers. We're going to be seeing Sane on the Grey Mane, Dino playing Li Ming, Balabub back on the Diablo, Losseroth on the Uther, and Wells playing a Nubarak.
Let the battle begin.
And on the right-hand side, looking to close this series out and take it 2-1, it is Jaina the Frost Mage with Hesabub on Sonya, Grek on Gul'dan, Inverse Beast on the Genji, Talia again on Malfurion, and Bree on Johanna. Oh, perfect aim, level 1 from Greymane. Unusual.
Yeah, that is a little bit unusual, as I understand it more recently. Greymane has obviously had some changes in the not too distant past, but be interesting to see how much value they're really able to get out of the increased cocktail range.
I mean, it implies kind of the opposite of what we thought this comp would be about. Because cocktail, of course, is for poking, it's for long sustained damage, not huge burst damage and diving in. So it's a little bit of a curious choice. Something else I was thinking of is how the solo was going to work for Saltshakers. If they were going to put Greymane in it, that would be limiting a lot of their damage and wave clear. So they've actually opted to put Noob in, and he does alright, but he doesn't beat Sonya by a long way, and it does free Sonya up to rotate between the lanes, as she will clear the wave so much faster than a noob will.
Yeah, that's right, and they're making full use of getting that double soak from the Sonya by grabbing the camp here. So I do like that decision by Jaina the Frost Mage, and a Nubarak is going to have to be pretty much just pushed in and making sure not to lose XP here in the top lane, because the bug does not clear a wave very quickly.
No, absolutely not. And he has actually gone for that Nerubian armor instead of the slightly more common these days going for Regen Master. So spell armor instead of health regen, looking again just to ensure that he lives through burst and is able to, well, I assume will then go into a full E build to help dive as these fights go on. I just want the game to go up to team fighting already. I don't want this only phase.
Well, unfortunately, you've got to go through one to get the other. It's interesting, though, the perfect aim does give Greymane a lot more potential to interrupt captures on the altars, right? So there is potentially value going to be gained from it there around the actual objective itself. So maybe that was the logic there. But we do see, as the first triple altar phase spawns here, Jaina the Frost Mage focusing more so on the bottom side of the map, still having 3 heroes in the bottom lane, and just Sonya. It looks like both teams are focusing down onto the bottom side of the map here with 4-mans.
Yeah, I was going to say I really enjoyed the Genji positioning, like heading into the mid lane, because it gives him the opportunity to go either to top or to bot.
Yeah.
But he didn't choose to try and go in on that Anuba, harass him a little bit, and instead just went down to bot. Now we are actually going to have a full 5v5, it looks like. Oh, but he lands that strike at the heart onto the Sonya, but she will... onto Greymane, sorry, but she will just live. And the Ultra is taken by Jaina the Frost Mage.
Yeah, they managed to get a nice capture in there just before the rotation down was completed by a Nubarak, so grabbing that one is going to stand them in pretty good stead. And we do see a bit of a shake-up coming from the Saltshakers here, as Greymane has moved top. It looks like a Nubarak's moving up there as well. I thought they were maybe going to put the Greymane up in the solo lane to try and counteract the Sonya, but for now it looks like it's going to be a 2-man in top here.
Yeah, I mean, they simply don't have wave clear outside of Greymane, so they really have to position him where they need him most. Oliver does get caught up, but he is tanky enough to live through that for the time being. Sonya just ignoring the 2-man and actually will allow them to take this top camp, which is something Saltshakers, of course, might lead them to get a little bit of XP. But no one's available now to do the sappers on the bot side.
But we do see Jaina the Frost Mage picking up their own sappers down on the bottom lane. But with the objective spawning, the altar spawning in the bottom lane in 20 seconds, That's going to pull a lot of the focus down onto the bottom side of the map. Maybe that top camp will be able to get some value.
I think with the gate still up, the sappers grief by just running straight into the gate and not actually doing any damage to the towers, which is incredibly upsetting to witness.
Yeah, that's unfortunate for Saltshakers.
With one sapper camp that was pushed through on this bot side already, the second one is going to finish off towers, which is going to be a pretty big deal really, because it just removes the free, safe area for Saltshakers to back into. And as a result, Jaina the Frost Mage is able to channel that ulti quite safely and continue their lead.
Yeah, and although the XP is still very much neck and neck here, Jaina the Frost Mage taking a not insignificant 8-shot lead on the core here in the early game. That's going to be pretty nice for them as we move into the mid game and, you know, either put pressure onto Saltshakers or relieve pressure from Jaina the Frost Mage as is necessary. Gonna just divert for a brief moment. Slaytanic just subscribing to Heroes Lounge on Twitch. Thank you very much for that. But we do see Sonya getting caught out by a big rotation, and the four-man...
That death was in honor of that subscription.
The four-man from Saltshakers closing on that one very quickly, managing to pinch off that kill. And that was a nice rotation by them, getting some good value. And they're now going to look to head to the bottom side and maybe catch something else here. Doesn't look like it though.
Yeah, should be okay. It does mean, however, that that pick will allow the sapper camp to get pushed in, which will somewhat equalize the pressure a little bit if they're able to get at least one of these towers, which they are.
And it won't just equalize it, because level 10 is nearly here for Saltshakers.
Yeah, absolutely, and they're actually going to grab level 10 by picking off that second tower anyway, so good decision making by Saltshakers, making use of that pick. The next altar phase is spawning up here in the top, and with level 10 available, this is where Diablo and Anub are really going to have a lot of fun if they're able to coordinate their dive properly.
And we do see the very aggressive move by Saltshakers, actually splitting, looking to try and take both towers, but Jaina the Frostmage get their own level 10, and they are coming in. The Horrify comes out, but cooldown is very low. Nice stun and Twilight Dream.
Save him!
But the D-Shield does come out to save Greymane. Johanna very low. Sonya with the leap in does secure the first kill onto the Greymane. Really nicely done. And that is going to be a big deal as Saltshakers lose 2 members. And they are not going to be getting the second altar. That much I can tell you.
That was so well done. Greymane was screaming out for the D shield. If he had it as soon as he jumped on the Gul'dan, and it's it's so common to just think you put the D shield on to save someone, but that's not always the case. You can use it to enable someone as well. If he had it, he would have been able to take Gul'dan out of the fight after he used that Horrify and positioned himself too far forward. But the Apocalypse was like a little bit too late. But the Blessed Shield from Jaina saves the Gul'dan before that Divine Shield lands, and the Genji comes in and picks up the double kill. Really nicely done by Jaina the Frost Mage. Ultimately, all it really means is they're able to get their own altar. The death time is too low to make that much of a difference, but it was such a well done fight. And now they have another sapper camp here, but they're not looking like they're going to push it in.
But they maintain their lead on the core health. I didn't see... Did the Horrify land on Uther? That may be why the D-Shield didn't connect
it. It definitely landed on someone in the back. I'm not sure.
It hit 2, but I didn't quite catch who it was. So maybe that's why Uther wasn't able to connect the D-Shield. But an aggressive boss play here from Jaina the Frostmage. And when you've got that core health advantage... Taking this is not a small matter. The Anubarak poking in, and Leap, Roots and Genji are going to spell an end to the bug, as we do get double altars spawning on the bottom side of the map. And Jaina the Frostmage really seem to be running away with this game in a 12 core health lead, and pretty much neck and neck XP, but the bottom tower taken out by Saltshakers, and that's a nice play by them.
Yeah, it's the absolute perfect response when you know that the other team has gone for that boss, and of course losing the Anub means that there's nothing else they could do. Getting that pick on the tower is really nice, and it does mean that a 5-shot channel will land. And now here comes Anub, Cocoon on mouth, and this is the fight.
Apoc comes down, as does Horrify, and the Horrify denies so much of the follow-up, but Gul'dan is very low. And Nubarak and Diablo managing to close it out. Sonya going down, and there's the resets coming out. Big Twilight Dream, but there wasn't enough follow-up. Only Genji now left, and Diablo turns on him. And that is going to be a full team wipe. And that was Apoc into the Li Ming resets, absolutely controlling that fight for Saltshakers.
That's exactly the way that we said this draft would have to work in fights in the draft, right? It was a noob landing the cocoon on Mouth, then charging in, the Apoc is there to follow up. Greymane drops his burst. He did actually go Curse Bullet, we haven't mentioned that so far, but just a little bit more burst because the whole thing is to just allow Li Ming to pop off. Hilariously, Greymane stole 4 of the kills. Li Ming didn't get all of the kills himself, but it was definitely Li Ming in there securing that full team wipe. The Twilight Dream, as he said, was glorious, but it was just too late to actually make any difference. If he perhaps had landed that, had he not been cocooned, of course, then it would have been a different story entirely, and that's exactly why the cocoon priority is so important.
Oh, for sure, for sure. Now, we do see that Saltshakers, with that fantastic team fight, even up the core health, more or less. I mean, they're still 2 behind, but there's not really anything in it. On the other hand, Jaina the Frost Mage successfully re-secure the bottom bell tower and going to grab their sapper camp as well. They're going to apply pressure in the bottom lane, and that is actually going to force... Saltshakers were looking to try and apply pressure in the top, but this push into bottom lane does force them to pull back.
I don't know why they didn't commit fully for the top. They left Greymane there to do it by himself and rotated as 4, which is so risky because, of course, it gives the opportunity for a 5v4 if they don't position right. As it is, though, they are able to at least equalize bell tower count, and of course that does mean a big chunk of XP, but bot is so much more important due to these sappers.
That's absolutely right. Now, we do see currently 5 members of Jaina the Frost Mage all on the bottom side of the map. Greymane at his own team's altar there, and that's going to be a 1-for-1, but Saltshakers are very far ahead in the race to their to the opponents. Genji diving in very deep, gets the interrupt, but might get blown up here. The CC chain was absolutely on point. Huge Horrify, Sonya leaping in. Diablo, though, tanking a lot of that damage. The Apoc comes down, doesn't connect, but the charge comes in on Malfurion. Is the Twilight Dream there? No, Malfurion goes down, and the D-Shield coming out on the low health Diablo just in time. Greymane very low. The health, the heal for
the heal.
Yeah, and the cocoon as well coming down onto Sonya is definitely going to secure the kill onto her with the Diablo and the Anubarak with the CC chain. Definitely. Definitely.
No.
Oh my goodness. Wow.
The damage from Gul'dan was actually really serious, and Genji's back.
He's back. He gets the interrupt.
Diablo. He's got the Dragon Blade though.
That's a kill. Diablo falls. Anubarak getting a short range burrow. Is it enough? Genji looking to still chase the kill. Yeah, that's not going to work. Genji forced away. Greymane.
Oh, great jump over the wall to survive.
Catch him. But that is going to be the altar for Jaina the Frost Mage. Wow, that was an intense, drawn-out fight there. Yeah, it's a fun map.
So I think the misplay, was Saltshakers when they had the cocoon on Sonya, they waited around to secure the kill on Sonya. I don't think there was perhaps a full appreciation of how much health she had. Sure. And instead, I think they could have jumped. They obviously didn't know he was waiting, but I think they could have positioned in the bush to ensure that Gul'dan didn't come forward, and if he did, blow Gul'dan up. Instead, they chased Sonya and took so much damage from Gul'dan. When Genji came back, I think he actually maybe Swift Strike too early. I think if he had waited and found the right target, he could have just gotten insta resets off 3 of them. As it was, he was able to chase them away and secure both the altar and then another very quick boss from Jaina Frostmage. So nice play once again, and it's put Saltshakers on 8 health remaining.
Yeah, the bell tower trade went down with both teams taking back their own bell tower, but that put Saltshakers by force into the bottom lane, and that Jaina the Frostmage they have no hesitation. If they see their opponent in bot lane, they just dive straight in on that boss and immediately get the additional core damage. We do have a single altar spawning as both teams again trade away bell towers. But it is only a single altar, so both teams going to be a little bit wary here. But if they're going to contest it, they are going to go straight head to head because there is only one point in the map to fight over.
Yeah, very well sniffed out. Jaina, sensing this potential trap here, does go in for the Blessed Shield, and Diablo gets super low and goes down.
And the interrupt just barely in time there. The Horrify comes out. Greymane dropping low. He is going to fall. Genji also very low. Just able to use his mobility. Great Twilight Dream. And that is going to be a lot of damage coming out from Jaina the Frost Mage, as they are hard on the chase here. But for sure, they are going to secure this objective.
Wow, the members of Saltshakers here so low, and yet still almost able to actually secure kills, even with members down. Diablo he only had 5 souls, and we saw how fast he went down there. And then a fantastic Horrify isolating the Greymane. This time the Horrify was timed immaculately, not using it too early, not waiting too late, using it just to isolate and kill a single target. Genji was able to survive very, very low, and then once again Mouth comes out, uses Twilight Dream, but again not quite timed right because of his being in that cocoon, and doesn't mean that 3 more kills go, but it's a big win for Jaina the Frost Mage, because now they have taken an XP lead. They're able to take both of the bot towers back. 20 is going to be very near as a result, and with the next altar phase, it's going to be a very difficult challenge for Saltshakers to prevent themselves losing this game.
Yeah, that's absolutely right.
Heroes.
I wonder. Wait, we've got 2 minutes to boss. Okay, so it is going to be all around this next altar phase, and I do think 20 should be there for Saltshakers, but they have the prospect of trying to fight into a quite solid defensive position for Jaina Frostmage, and the issue with Diablo Souls remains he's only been able to get 4 more in time since he's respawned. He has just 9 souls, and that is not enough post level 20 to survive. Like, he is just too squishy. He needs to get as much as he possibly can, and he's going to have to make do with 16.
We do have a narrow window of level 20 advantage for Saltshakers, and they're going to take the engage. Apop coming down. Great Horrify comes out, and a lot of damage. Li Ming going down. Genji with the Dragon Blade getting those resets. And it's not Li Ming this time, but the D-Shield does allow Greymane to secure the kill onto Malfurion. But we see Uther dropping extremely low, and Nubarak taking a lot of damage from the Gul'dan. Wow. Greymane goes down. We will see Uther respawning in just a moment, but he may just fall straight away again. And in fact, it doesn't matter, because that is going to be 4 more damage. Jaina the Frostmage with that last teamfight win, securing the game and the match with a 2-1 result. Good game, well played by both the teams.
Yeah, really well done. I mean, that was actually so close for Saltshakers. The APOC was a little bit off, but I think there was a big issue. Uther kept himself alive with the clutch W on like nothing, and as a result didn't die. And if he had died, I think he could have healed up the Greymane and then respawned with Redemption, and it could have perhaps been a different fight. But I think, well, even that's speculation, of course. But I mean, we saw the great combo from Saltshakers once. When it worked, it was a full team wipe, but they simply weren't able to properly execute it any more times than that once, and that was enough for Jaina's team fighting to win out. And Genji said, "You might do resets, Li Ming, but look at these."
Yeah, and he made it work for them. Okay, so looks like we are going to be not having time to have a chat with Jaina the Frostmage here. I'm afraid, folks. I am sorry about that, but we are going to be jumping into another match here, and we're going to be trying to do that as soon as possible. We are going to be looking at Domodoras Dinos going up against Go Core 5. They are currently in their game 1, but as soon as they get out of game 1 and are ready to go with game 2, we are going to be jumping into that one. So we're going to throw it over to a countdown. We don't quite know when we're going to be able to see the start of the next, or the start of game 2 of the next match we're going to be showing, but we will be back as soon as possible. Larkin, any brief final thoughts onto that best of 3 that we saw between Saltshakers and Jaina the Frost Mage?
I mean, I think it was a very entertaining series for sure, and I think Jaina the Frost Mage have really good team fighting as a unit. I think a lot better than I was expecting from a team that is quite near the bottom of Division 3, and I'm kind of surprised that they're this low down, as it were. I mean, they're actually, I think they're rock bottom of Division 3. And if they're able to win out more series with this team fighting that they seem to have, maybe they were just on fire today and they've been struggling in other series, I don't know, but I hope that they'll be able to bring it back, because they played very well, I thought.
Yeah, it was a very strong match from them, and Saltshakers certainly did not look like they were a weak team by any means, but obviously Jaina the Frost Mage able to come out on top today. But we are going to throw over to a countdown, and we will be back just as soon as we can to bring you all game 2 of the next match. So don't go too far away. We'll be back shortly. Hello, good evening, and welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, because we are here to bring you some more Heroes Lounge Season 6 action. I am Bears of the Forever Alones, and still with me tonight I have got Larkin. How are we getting on, Larkin?
Doing good. Still alive.
So we are going to be jumping into the second series of the night. Unfortunately, due to the time taken over the first series, we have missed game one of this best of three. The best of three is going to be between Domodoras de Dinos and GoCore 5, two of our Division 2 teams. And although we don't really have much details on it, Domodoras de Dinos did secure the win in game one. GoCore 5 chose to pass the map pick over to their opponents. And for game two, we are going to be going to the newest map in the Heroes Lounge map pool, which is, of course, Volskaya Foundry.
Yeah, I'd actually really be a big fan of watching games on Volskaya. I think it's a lot better than it was when it was released, for sure.
Mm-hmm. It certainly plays out quite interestingly at the moment, for sure. The objective is pretty powerful, so you've got to be aware of that. And manipulating the fact that capturing the objective takes a long time, I think, is one of the keys to success on this map.
I think a lot of it now seems to be based around priming the bot lane and using the first Punisher basically to get yourself the second Punisher by taking up the top well and wall, and then the second Punisher to get yourself a fort and a good XP lead, and then the third Punisher, if you've primed the bot lane enough, can normally end the game by going through the keep and to the core. That's kind of the ideal strategy, but of course it's up to the other team to stop that from happening and try and do it themselves.
So just a little bit of scouting here for you folks. Have we got the teams on the right sides? We have, right? Yeah. So looking at the previous game and the compositions we saw there, it was, in fact, GoCore 5. GoCore 5's draft was a Valor Morales draft with Diablo and Blaze on the front line and KT to provide the spell damage. And Domodoras de Dinos, the winners of that game, picked up the Phoenix for themselves, and they had Garrosh, Stukov, Leoric, and Greymane to go with that. So they had a lot of displacement. They had the silence from the Stukov and a lot of damage coming in from Phoenix and Greymane. So be interesting to see how that affects what teams want to be doing in the draft going into game two, as it will be GoCore 5 with the first pick here.
And it does seem like we are ready to go, so let's
fantastic. Yeah, let's jump straight into it.
So these teams are currently around the bottom of Division 2. GoCore 5 are actually at the very bottom, and Domodores are a little bit ahead, 3 places ahead of them. So definitely in the same way as the last series, it's going to be these teams trying to get some wins on the board to prevent themselves from being threatened with relegation.
Yeah, of course, absolutely. So we'll see what the teams are able to pull out. I need to update the scoreboard because I forgot to do that. And I'm going to be interested to see. I think potentially, there was a little bit of. Well, let's put it this way. I think GoCore 5 were not aware that Phoenix was legal yet, and they maybe didn't mean to give that over to their opponents in game one. So they're going with a quick first ban on that.
Yeah.
That is not going to be coming up and rearing its head again into game two. Domodoras de Dinos looking towards a Medivh ban here.
Yeah, it's kind of an interesting choice for a first ban. I do think Medivh has a lot of power on this map. The control he gives with vision, the ability to engage via portals and kind of negate the problems that the conveyor belts can pose, definitely offers a lot. And actually, because of the huge burst damage that can come out from the Protector, his Arcane Explosion can get some obscene value if that is the way you want to go about it. So just removing that option. And there are some pretty interesting ways you can play this map. Traditionally, you want to be going for more kind of sustained type damage, stuff that can survive by itself for quite a long time, not run out of mana, that sort of thing. Because of how long the fights can go, you can, of course, also play globals. You normally need something that can do camps well or clear camps well. I personally really like playing stuff like Stitches on this map.
Sure.
And you could also even play stuff which is really super late game, like stack focused. One of my team specialties is all Jin. We do like to bust out a big in here because you get so many stacks in those initial fights.
How does that work out for you?
We haven't lost when we've done it in limited games that we've played of it.
Sure.
We don't always play it, of course. It's when,
Of
when
course.
the time is right, but not to be underestimated.
Okay, well.
And another thing that I've seen even higher level teams in Division 1 running on this map is Nazebo. So that can be done as well, but we'll see how these teams play. So far, nothing unusual. We see a Diablo first pick from Gokor 5 and Garrosh Stukov as the response.
Yeah, I mean, all top tier heroes in the meta at the moment, without question. Can't really fault any of those picks. Going to be Sonya and a Greymane coming in from Gokor 5 here. That's an interesting one. Greymane getting that early priority again. Not quite as commonly favoured of late, I feel.
I think on this map there's a lot of merit to it, though, because of course he can clear well and his mobility is nice. You can utilize him quite cunningly on some of the conveyor belts if you play it right, as well, of course, as his jungling. But if you tend to go into Wizened Duelist, which is perhaps the most common level 7 for Greymane these days, you can poke away pretty nicely throughout the protracted objective phases and stack up really quite well. And that, of course, if you're able to survive, will mean huge damage in the late game. So I definitely understand the value of Greymane here. Sonya kind of offering the same thing to the team, more or less, as Greymane does, but certainly by no means a bad pick.
And Dino's going with the Malfurion ban, looking to restrict the support pool away from what is commonly considered to be a top tier support. Chromie getting banned out by Gokor 5. I do like that decision by them. I consider the Chromie to be pretty scary on this map, and it's all around the factors that we already talked about. It can be a fairly late game map. You can take advantage of those stacking effects. Of course, Chromie Q is one of those. And around those objectives, when you're trying to capture those control points, you've got to stay in that zone for quite a long time, and that's a long time of Chromie being able to just poke pot shots at you whenever she feels like. So you can really get some good stacking going on this map. So I think that's a decent ban by them. Yeah,
and of course she pairs very nicely with Stukov as well. If you wanted to go into Slowing Sands, it's the same kind of thing we see on Braxis a lot. The combination of the silence and the Slowing Sands is really nice. But there's another mage which is perfectly valuable here in Gul'dan, and we have Tigers paired alongside that. So a good response to this quite heavy divey front line that we've got so far from Gokor 5. And they're adding more to it with Genji and then Lucio.
Wow, this is a very aggressive composition from Gokor 5. Everybody here is focused around being able to jump in onto the opponent and really chunk people down with that Greymane and the Genji diving in. So how do you think Dinos are going to respond to this with their last pick? They're looking for a solo laner. Is the Blaze going to be the way to go?
I would love a Blaze. I think Blaze is so good into heavy melee comps like this one. And I mean, this is such a polarization of styles. We have so much aggressive melee dive enabled by Lucio from Gokor 5, which suits their name, I guess, whereas Dinos are playing very heavy backline, lots of poke. That's kind of beg the question why you'd ban Chromie, because Chromie would not be a threat to a very aggressive dive competition, really. But they actually pick up the Leoric as the response, and it's okay once you go past level 16, but I'm not sure in the early game he's gonna offer the peel needed. I feel like he's just kind of gonna get evaporated.
Yeah, I mean, Garrosh isn't. I mean, he has displacement and crowd control, but it's not the ideal peel, right? If somebody's diving in, I mean, he can throw one person away. Maybe he can land a Q to knock somebody up briefly, but yeah, I'm not sure how impactful it's going to be in actually protecting his backline here.
Yeah, it's going to rely on a lot of. It's definitely going to need to be coordinated from Goku 5. They have to go in together. They have to go in on the same target. They can't just kind of trickle in one by one. And grouping up will, of course, make them vulnerable to Entombs, to Gul'dan Horrify corruption damage, to Stukov Silence, and to Warlord's Challenge, which could be brutal. Lucio, of course, will enable a lot of dive with his movement speed, but he's going to really struggle to heal up. I mean, if you ever tried healing a Diablo that's fully stacked with Lucio, it takes about 8 years.
Until you get level 16, but yeah.
Exactly, until you have level 16, but by that point, I feel like the comp of Domodorus is really going to come online. So it'd be interesting to see how the teams balance out, because they really are in almost exactly contrasting styles.
Yeah, they certainly are. And I mean, it's going to depend on how well the Dinos are able to actually fend off that hard engage that is going to be coming in from Goku 5 to determine how the flow of this game goes. Goku 5 are going to be looking to make those aggressive plays and make those dives early and often. And I'm questioning so far. I mean, we'll see, but I'm questioning Dino's ability to actually withstand that.
Yeah, certainly before level 10, I think it's going to be really difficult for them. Once they have the heroics online, they'll have a lot more tools at their disposal. But outside of Garrosh being able to get some very good picks, and of course a throw with a silence behind it, and Tyker's chunking should never be denied. And Gul'dan, of course, won't be denied. But outside of that, I struggle to find a way that they can really deal with the power of this comp before 10.
I mean, I think the whole idea behind Goku 5's draft here is, well, okay, Garrosh, if you flip somebody, the rest of the team's just going to come with them.
And that's a brilliant way of responding to it, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. But I really think that they've done that quite successfully with the heroes that they've picked. Obviously, all that remains to be seen is whether they can actually execute that when it comes down to it in game.
Yeah, and a lot is going to really rest on Lucio's shoulders, because, as has been said, until 16, he really doesn't offer that much in the way of healing.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, he does have Sound Barrier at 10, which is a nice kind of burst additional hit point, but into the poke from Gul'dan and Tyker's, he will struggle. So everything is going to rest on charging in, getting that kill, and hopefully using that to snowball and get a one fight, a one objective, and then win the game from there. Because into the late game, the power of this comp, I think, will filter off a bit. But having said that, they do have some pretty solid late game spikes as well, so we'll see.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just going
to. I think I'm griefing the loading here a bit, aren't I?
Something is, but I can't tell what.
For some reason, it's taking forever to load from me. I don't really know why.
Well, hopefully it'll catch up at some point. I was sort of slightly panicking, going, "Hang on, am I? Is the stream going okay?" It looks like everything's fine on my end, but the map does not want to load in a hurry.
Yeah, I'm gradually. I'm getting there. I don't really know.
Okay.
It sometimes happens for absolutely no reason at all.
Spaghetti code. Yeah, I mean, there's also decent percentage damage on both sides. So both teams are going to be looking to present a significant threat to the opponent front line. Here we go. We are getting on with it. So, we are into game 2 between Domodoras de Dinos and GoCore 5. On the left-hand side in blue, it is the Dinos with the 1-0 lead in the series so far. We're going to be seeing Chicho playing the Garrosh, Smiguel on what's that hero called? Stukov, sorry. Vixen on the Gul'dan, Inerto on the Tychus, Leoric being played by Samurai.
And on the right-hand side, down 1-0 in this series, it is GoCore 5 with Magic Skull on Diablo, RC Gear, that sounds horrible, on Sonya, Yana on Lucio, Kwane on Genji, and Rake on Greymane.
Okay, so we see both teams poking away in the mid lane here. Interestingly, we see Sonya heading towards top, and then maybe changing her mind.
Yeah.
Is going to rotate down to bottom to counteract the Leoric. I was wondering whether they were going to do some interesting laning setup, but we're not going to see anything too crazy out of either team just yet. Currently, with Dinos having a slight lead on the rotation, we did see Diablo staying mid, making sure not that the team didn't miss any soak. Genji with the dive in, getting a good bit of damage onto Gul'dan. That's always nice. He is going to be forced to tap, but we do see Stukov and Garrosh with the rotation down is going to pick up the first blood, taking down Sonya.
Yeah, the way that the early game rotations on this map work are really interesting. The way that teams can position themselves, I think should always be centered around the camp, the fortification camp that comes up. So we do see that the Domodoras are going for this almost immediately, picking up as soon as it's spawned, basically, and that does not only give them a huge amount of XP, it does also then free up the opportunity to either invade or force somewhere else. And if you then have the opportunity to see your opponent going for their camp and reducing the amount of numbers they have in the top or mid lane, you can then try and get support camp or the siege camp.
Yeah.
And it plays out really interestingly because I think there's multiple ways that you can go about doing it. Diablo, meanwhile, charging into the towers, taking way too much damage from them and Gul'dan, and then being found by a Tychus.
And looks like Dinos are going to use that as an opportunity to try and grab this support camp for themselves. Looks like GoCore 5, they don't want to try and contest this 3v5, so...
Here it comes up as well to just ensure that they can.
And that is going to be the control point unlocking in just 30 seconds now in the mid lane, as it always does. We see Sonya managing to get a little bit of extra soak for the team in the bottom lane, and looks like she's going to be heading towards the turret camp.
Yeah, I was going to say, all of this has meant that Domodoras has had the ability to grab pretty much every camp and take a sizable macro advantage. GoCore 5 will now get their turret and the siege camp as well to ensure that at least they have parity in that regard. But it's amounted to almost a full level lead for Domodoras. The XP you get from the fortification camp and the support camp should not be denied. It is actually really, it's almost like a fort's worth of XP. It's kind of crazy.
But we do see that evening up now as GoCore 5 have secured the camps on their side of the map as well. And maybe got a little bit of extra soak as Dinos were grouping very quickly for the objective. We see the disengage Garrosh flip being used to disengage the Diablo there. And it looks like teams are grouping for a 5v5. Genji dives in on the backline of Dinos, but not able to actually secure anything. Sonya making an aggressive move as well, and this is going to push Dinos at least temporarily off the capture point here, the control point. But they tapped and they're coming back. They've got the totem as well. And they're going to throw that down. There it goes, and that is a lot of healing coming out from that support camp. That is going to force GoCore 5 right back. for the duration of that. They do have their own taps here, and they've got probably just enough time to actually try and contest this. They do come in, but Genji is not with the team. Leoric getting a lot of damage onto Sonya as she is forced to retreat here. Tychus, though, is dropping low as well, but he gets the damage and the retreat. Wow, Gul'dan with that insane damage. Great flip as well by Garrosh, and that was very good for Dinos here as they secure a triple kill and the objective on top.
Yeah, I mean, so I was just kind of, in the initial phase of that objective fight, I was just kind of waiting for Goku 5 to pull the trigger. You know, they were dancing around, they put their turret down almost immediately, and it did force Domodores off the point, but they didn't have that, obviously they don't have their heroics and stuff yet, but we didn't have that just huge, everyone blasting on one target. We would see maybe Genji would Swift Strike in, and then maybe Sonya would spear someone, but ultimately they were still playing it slowly, which is fine. Then when the tap came, and Domodores came back with their items still up, there was an attempt to kill the Tychus, but it was beautifully denied with by the Stukov and then by the healing camp or totem thing, and that ultimately meant that they were able to regain control, and it looked like Goku 5 was going to be able to survive, but then finally, after a sort of last gasp attempt to secure kills, they lost 3. Here they dive past the Protector and aim for Gul'dan, but he is able to live drain and keep himself alive, and Leoric will slap Genji away as punishment for ever daring to try and kill Tychus.
And that's a huge lead now for Domodores Dinos. They have got their level 10 heroics. They're going to grab another support camp here, not only furthering the XP lead, but also, of course, grabbing that support item for the next objective. And they're going to even capitalize on that further, making an aggressive play for the top fort. Of course, Goku 5 are spreading, trying to get XP as much as they possibly can, because they need to try and secure their level 10s as soon as possible.
Yeah, this is a perfect situation for Dinos. They used the Protector as you should, ensuring that they took out the top wall and the well, but then with the heroic advantage, they then turned that into not just that, but getting the fort as well. You could actually time out, because there's quite a long period between the objective phases on this map. You can actually get 2 support camps in time. If you get it immediately, it does actually give you enough time, in the same said for the turret. So you could, in theory, come into the next phase with 2 turrets and 2 healing totems, which is pretty good.
Sounds impactful.
I would love for them to just have one left. They would just swap the solo now and leave someone in the top lane, because the fort's dead. They're not really going to be pushing that much, just to passively soak that XP, while really committing strongly to the bot lane now. Because if they start priming this bot lane and getting damage done, taking out the wall, putting some damage on the fort, which they can add later in the game, it will set them up to win the game with the third Protector. But the Dam does get picked. He tried to use Horrify, and I don't think it went on cooldown.
Can't tell you, I'm afraid. Small indie company. What can I say?
Yeah. It's a big pick, though. Big pick.
It is a huge pick off. It was definitely Goku 5 showing exactly what their comp can and is designed to do, as Diablo got a little bit of a displacement, didn't even actually manage to connect the wall stun, but with Genji dashing in, and here they go now onto Leoric once again, and that is a second kill. Really nice moves here now by Goku 5, maybe regaining some of their composure in this game, as they pick up a couple of kills for themselves on the map, and they are looking for more here.
For more, yeah. I think they need to not get carried away, because of course Leoric will be respawning shortly, and they are still down the talents here. Just use this as an opportunity to get themselves back onto even footing. We actually saw the subwoofer value at level 4 from Lucio, the extra range on the boop, really shoving Leoric back and preventing him from using Wraith Walk to actually get away from that. So nicely done. But here they still don't have that turret, the talents here, and they are dropping the turret down already as if they want to fight.
Yeah, looks like that is their plan here. Diablo not pulling back, does get flipped in by the Garrosh, dives in, APOC goes down, taunt, but the APOC connects. Garrosh is actually the first to fall. Great flailing swipe by Stukov. Diablo does go down, but Stukov falls shortly afterwards. Diablo even has souls, so he is going to be immediately on his way back. We see the sound barrier coming out from Lucio to enable the team to keep diving in. Tychus drops pretty low, but is not going to fall, even though Odin has expired. Garrosh not back up for another few seconds, and Stukov even longer. Is this going to be enough for Gokor 5 to secure the objective?
We're beginning to see the issue that the comp has. I mean, they have such great kill potential, absolutely, and it was executed there, even down the talent tier. But now, with the poke that they've taken and no fort here at all, they are kind of struggling to heal everyone up with Lucio. He's getting there, but we're now having a fully healed Dino's team right back in it. But Garrosh stepping forward and taking a lot of damage, but Diablo no souls, he takes damage too.
Great poke from Gul'dan, getting Diablo extremely low, but Garrosh also dropping low. Genji trying to finish him off, but it is Sonya that goes down. Another great corruption from Gul'dan. That is going to actually secure the double kill onto Diablo and Genji, and that is another triple kill for Domodoros Dinos, saying, look, we are not out. You might have won a fight, but we are still here, and they're going to win that one quite handily. And that is going to be enough to secure them the objective, I've got to imagine. They're only 25% through, and the respawn timers aren't too long. So maybe Gokor 5 can still look to contest this.
I think it's pretty almost all in if they do, though, because it's 16 is around the corner for Dinos, and if it's another one fight and a protector for Dinos, it's gonna be a long road back for Gokor 5.
But if they don't contest this, Dinos get the protector, they get 16 off the keep wall, and then you lose the keep.
It's still a bad situation either way, for sure.
It's definitely awkward. We do see Gokor 5 are making the decision to try and contest this before the level 16 kicks in. Sound barrier coming down, and they're very hard engage. Apoc secures the kill onto Gul'dan. Flailing swipe, trying to create space. The protector does come out, but nobody is in it just yet. Genji dropping low, but does secure the kill onto Leoric first. Odin getting a lot of damage from the backline of Dinos, and Stukov jumping into the protector. This is going to be very threatening now, and it looks like Gokor 5 are going to have to pull back. Garrosh jumping into the gunner's seat, and unless Gokor 5 can get hold of Tychus, they probably need to be pulling back here, because they are not going to...
But they're not!
Okay, apparently they are just going to fight the protector straight up.
I think that's actually totally fine. With 2 dead, I think it's the right decision. I mean, Tychus was so low, he didn't want to overstep, because of course he knew Diablo would jump on him as soon as he had the opportunity. Garrosh going into the protector meant there's suddenly no real appeal for Tychus. Protectors don't really protect that well.
No.
They kill stuff, but they don't really protect.
They protect you if you're in them, just not anybody that's around them. And damage coming out onto Lucio here. Another the corruption.
Sonya.
But Sonya doesn't care. Leap in onto Gul'dan. Does secure the kill, but it's answered by a counter kill onto Sonya. Garrosh with a huge flip.
Great play by Garrosh.
Oh my goodness, and that is a double kill. Dinos really, wow, that was just an insane play. Garrosh with the throw into Q, and another member just ending up on the end of that Q as well at the same time. Massive 4-man taunt, and the damage coming out from Gul'dan and Tychus there. That was just massive. Securing a huge lead now for Dinos as they move forward in this game. They've got a big lead on XP, and for the moment they can literally have the run of the map as their opponents are still just respawning.
Yeah, so I liked what they did with the protector instead heading down to the bot lane to get the wall down and start priming it, is to get a really nice kill on the Gul'dan, who obviously has a hard time defending himself. We do now have 16 available, which does mean Super Strain, which is actually the first time we've seen it picked, because the other 2 games we saw the Pox Populi popping up instead, which I don't think it's anywhere near as good at dealing with a big CC dive type thing. But Gokor 5, they were living up to their name basically and just being so aggressive. They got that 1 pick, unfortunately lost to Sonya, but then they charged in after the protector died, still not having 16. Not really in a position to properly dive. They could have just backed off and been totally fine, but instead Garrosh made that huge play and secured again another big lead really for Dinos. And with 20 fast approaching, I say fast approaching, 20 around the corner, it's going to be tricky for them to then. They're probably going to have to fight another battle over for a protector on uneven tiers.
Unless they can make something happen here. Diablo going in hard. The silence and the horrify coming out from Dinos though with the counter engage. Genji does in, and that's a Dragon Blade coming out onto Gul'dan here. Taunt coming out from Garrosh. Leo with the Entomb. There goes Apoc though, and it's really good. Garrosh extremely low, but so are Diablo and Genji. The healing totem coming out from Gokor 5, but they are still forced to retreat. Diablo re-engaging hard though, and Garrosh punishing it. He is going to...
It does go down. Gul'dan does go down as well eventually, but the commitment that was made there was so much that it meant that Genji just about survives, but Sonya goes down as well. It is a 2-for-1 trade in favor of Dinos. Garrosh took so much damage and lived through all of it, and not only did he live through all of it, he was then able to turn around and help secure the kill on Diablo when the dive on Gul'dan happened. So again, phenomenal play from Chico, showing the strength of Garrosh in a very difficult matchup for him, because playing into Diablo is by no means easy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, really fantastic play by both teams there, but certainly Dino's coming out on top, and they are getting the head start on this objective. They are very close to 20. Diablo and Sonya just now respawning, and it's going to be a very tight race where the Gokor 5 can find and engage before that level 20 talent kicks in.
Thought that camp would almost get it, but actually Garrosh, great Indomitable, keeps himself alive, and the Flaming Sweep is used to keep Gokor 5 away. They're going to take this fight regardless of 20, I think, because this protector, the fort's already down. It would basically be keep, and if not game, so they're going to go for it regardless.
But Dino's already with 98% channeled on this, so they have got plenty of time to look for the engage
off, and
they
they're
want.
split up now.
Yeah, Diablo not backing off with the team. Okay. Yeah, I mean, Diablo just getting completely isolated from his team there.
Oh, that Entomb with the barrier.
Silence Entomb there. Wow. The Horrify following it up as well from the Gul'dan. And Tychus managing to steal all of those killing blows.
Yeah.
But, that was a lovely, lovely combo from Domodorus to Dinos. And I've got to imagine that's putting them in a very strong position to secure this game. 30 seconds before 3 members of Gokor 5 will be back online. Diablo back to 0 souls, so he is much squishier, and the keep is dropping very quickly, of course, to that
patience
protector.
From Leora. I mean, I and so many others would have been tempted when they realized that there was that miscommunication from Gokor 5 and Diablo had not backed to clear the way for the rest of his team. Would have dropped that into him immediately to help secure the pick on Diablo, but nope, he holds it and waits and gets the god 3-man into him with that buried alive, the silence, and then the follow-up, and that will... I mean, everyone's back from Gokor 5, but I don't think it's anywhere near enough to save the game.
No, the Protector is just smorking core, and although Gokor 5 were getting multiple members low, Dinos will secure a 2-0 victory in this series. Good game, well played by both the teams, but that is going to be it from our teams for tonight. Unfortunately, once again, we did miss game 1 of the series, so we are not going to be having any more games coming out of these teams tonight. We'll see whether we can have a chat with somebody from Domodorus to Dinos and have a chat with them about their performance, though. So bear with us just a few moments. Any closing thoughts on that map, Larkin?
I mean, it just kind of played out exactly as we said in the draft, really. If you get that first protector, you can get the advantage, and then it just turns into a second one to get more of an advantage, and then the third one ends the game. I thought it was actually really well done by Dinos how they made the absolute most of their advantages. It wasn't just, oh, we've got an XP lead, let's just keep playing to the next objective. It was, we get a kill, let's get as much structure value as we can, let's get as many camps as we can, let's really make the most of this. And I thought they played it out excellently, and some really solid mechanical play as well against what is by no means an easy comp to play into, especially from Chico on that Garrosh.
To be sure, yeah, absolutely. Okay, unfortunately, it seems due to the late hour, Dinos are not going to be able to stick around to have a chat with us tonight, so we are not going to be having an interview. Unfortunately, that is 0 for 2 on interviews today, but such is life sometimes. So I guess it's just really over to us now to wrap up, Larkin. Obviously, we are not going to be seeing any more Heroes Lounge action this evening. There will, I'm sure, be more matches coming along tomorrow and over the weekend, but that hasn't all been exactly mapped out yet, so I can't tell you quite what we will be seeing, but for sure there will be more action on this channel over the next few days, so keep your eyes open for that. I'm sure there will be some exciting games. Larkin, any last thoughts, shout outs, plugs, anything else from you before we wrap it up tonight?
No, I guess just of course the usual shouts out to my team, even if we can play like absolute noobs sometimes, and shouts out to everyone for tuning in and watching, and shouts out to the teams for playing some pretty entertaining series, and hopefully see everyone again soon.
Fantastic. Okay, yeah, well, it's been a lot of fun. We've done, I guess, 1.5 series tonight, but we did our best to cover as much as we could. But certainly we've seen some great games from some different teams here today, so that is always fun. Obviously, thank you everybody for joining us. Thank you for watching, the sub, the cheering, all very much appreciated, supporting Heroes Lounge. So thank you to everybody for that this evening, and look forward to seeing you all again soon, and have a great night.